Okay. All right. Everybody can hear me, see me okay? Thumbs up. Yes. Okay, good.
Yep.
Thank you, Bill. And by the way, Bill, appreciate you last night. Big help. Man, I
No
wish you could
worries,
be on
man.
all of those webinars.
Right on. I mean, I have Toastmasters Thursday nights. If maybe once or twice a month. You know what I mean?
Yeah, 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 for sure if you can. I'll have
Right
to.
on.
Cool, cool. Thank you. And the one thing I didn't do, which was the main thing that we were supposed to do, was interview and have a few people jump out. And for some reason, I couldn't get people. I couldn't find the way to spotlight those people.
They were
Um,
heroes in the chat, though.
yeah, yeah, I appreciate all of you. And those of you who did show up for actually jumping out and going live, next time, I promise. I apologize. I hope I didn't waste your time, but we do appreciate you joining, coming on. Um, thank you, Norman. Thank you, guys. Okay. All right. So what I'm going to do here is we're going to get into it. Just go over here, see what's going on. 12 noon, entrepreneurs on fire. 12 p.m. Oops. Hold on a second. Hold on. Hold on. Let me just make sure I'm not supposed to be somewhere right now. I think I got this wrong. Hold on one second, guys. Oh, shit. Guys, give me 1 second. I'll be right back.
Take your time, boss.
Actually, if you can take over for a minute here, Bill, I might have to I apologize, guys. I'll be right back. Something I'm supposed to do
No
here.
worries. Take your time. Hi, guys.
All right, so now we are in legendary podcast royalty. Okay, with this podcast here, Anshu.
Man, says hi, Kip. Hi.
Morning, Bill.
Mine too, Bill.
Hi,
Yes.
guys. Anybody have any questions that I could answer for them first thing this morning? I love that Victor Stewart. I love that image. Jesus is jacked in that. Right? I don't think he's natural. I don't think he's natty. 11 years in, no test, liar.
Yeah, I got so sick of all the dainty little pictures of Jesus. That's not my
All
Jesus.
right.
My Jesus is a stud.
Hey,
Right.
Jesus, hey,
100%.
Jesus is God. He can make his own testosterone when he wants to. So that's
When he
definitely got
wants
to be
to.
natural.
That's the right answer to that question, too, bro. That just hit me in the face. That's the right answer to that question. Um, Love the image. Let's see here. Next winning lottery numbers. See that's the thing. You're going to want to go look up Helen Haskell for the next winning lottery numbers and very specifically the Silva method of mind control. Okay, so it's meditation, focused, and literally you imagine things that come true later. Literally. I've done it. Guys, I have stories that will blow your mind for real. So, and that's in the audiobook library for sure. Soon have asked, did I just get a bunch of signals? Yeah, I did. I got a few of them today. The ones that I'm really looking for are Tuesdays, guys. The signals on Super Trend Build that I look for the most are Tuesdays. Because if we have the midweek reversal lead into 3 days of a swing trade and most coins follow Bitcoin, well, that's printing money, ain't it? Right? Next onboard, need onboarding help, but no rush. What's going on, Observer? What onboarding help do you need, my friend? We're here. How do I identify weekend traps? That's a great idea. Let's share my screen. I have to pull up some stuff, guys, because I wasn't ready for this. And I've got a bunch of stuff running. I'm going to shut down. Forgive the delay. I got Phemex running. I was building indicators yesterday. I got a bunch of trading view windows open. And show meeting. Bring you guys down here where I can see you. And okay. Let's go to a chart. Let's go to mock trading. You guys see my screen okay? Somebody let me know.
We see it.
Right on. Thanks, Ken. Appreciate you, bro. Appreciate it. Okay, Phemex. And we're off. And we know we're in mock because it's orange. And the weekend trap. It's easier to draw on the 1 hour, probably. So you go to the 1 hour chart. Pick your Friday date. So today. And we can draw this into the future. That's a cool thing about the charts. We can draw into the future. Friday at 5 p.m. Eastern to Sunday. He's alive. That's good. I'm glad you're alive, bro. What was I looking at that? From Friday at 5 p.m. Eastern to Sunday at 5 p.m. Eastern. So we are Friday, and I can grab a rectangle from the brush tools. Rectangle. And find, I deleted my cache and cookies. And what that does is it changes your time zone. So I'm looking at military time. I don't want to look at military time. I'm not very good with military time. So I'm going to change that in the settings. Canvas. Nope. Scales. At the bottom of scales. And I'm going to change it to 12 hours. It's going to make it a little easier for me to see. Okay, so when I'm hovering over, down here at the bottom, down here, I can see the time. So I'm looking for Friday, the 19th. I'm looking for 2 p.m., right? Because I'm on the West Coast. So I'm looking for 2 p.m. and I'm going to draw my rectangle right here. So 2 p.m. And then I'm going to go over to Monday, or rather Sunday, which would be the 21st at 2 p.m. Same thing because I'm on the West Coast. There's my weekend trap. Now price is going to come into this box and I'm going to want to make the box the size that it needs to be, right? As it's drawn in. What I'm looking for is really for Friday and Saturday's action to set the high and the low of the range for the weekend. Okay. And then drag it over to Sunday and watch what happens with the price. Okay. The price will break up or it'll break down. That's usually a market maker push. That's a false move beginning of the week to entice traders to go long or short and liquidate some of the people who got trapped here. Okay. And then that false move, it will reverse and give us a nice day trade. That day trade will give us either a nice reversal into a swing trade or a continuation into the swing trade. And it works like this week in, week out, week in, week out. Let's go back in time. Let me turn off some of my other indicators and we'll blow up the chart, make it a little bit bigger. Yay, that worked this time. Let's go back in time a week and draw it in and see how it played out together. And then I'll look at the, let's see, Coin M. Thank you for your help with understand. This was how to get your drawings back. When you Control Z gets your drawings back. Control Z if you accidentally delete them. And the Coin M thing, right on. Can't set my date, won't accept it. Oh, that's weird. I don't know. Maybe delete your cache and cookies and start again. Okay, let's look back a week. The 19th, I assume that's the 12th through the 14th. So that's what it was. Grab our rectangle tool from the brush. Scroll down, rectangle. And you can add these to your favorites, guys. I'm almost. Lon.
Wicked reverb. Time to join a-
Wicked, right? Reverb rocks. Let's see. What were we talking about? You can add the tools to your favorites by using the star. I've just all but given up on doing it because every time I delete my cache and cookies, it deletes everything. And I've found myself just charting in TradingView anymore so that I don't waste my time. I might start just teaching from that perspective in the future because we get better tools. The lines don't get deleted. It's less work for me. So anyway, Adam, see your favorites. I love the East State chipper. I do my best. Are we saying the 12th through the 14th, right? So I'm just going to throw it on the board at the right time to get it on the board, and then I'll move it into place after I've got it on. Okay, so there's the weekend trap for that. Now I need to move it up and get it actually in the price action, the actual price action of the weekend. Maybe a little higher right there. And right there. Okay, so there was the weekend trap. There it was. What did they do? They ran it down. Okay, so we broke to the downside with that's a clear market maker candle. We're not even on TradingView. We're not looking at any special PVSRA candle indicator. We're just looking at the size of the candle, right? They're definitely trying to clear liquidity this way. Then they ran it back up this way, right? They were just very volatile with the price action, but the false move was this way. And then the overall move of the week was to the upside, right? So you're looking for these patterns over and over and over
the move
again.
there was to go long after that big red candle.
Yeah, it would have been. And then to either hold through this or cash out and buy back when you got the consolidation here. Right. And anytime it cleared to 50, like over here would have been a good buy. Right. We had a lot of sort of W patterns, and it's easier to see the W's and the M's on the lower time frames. So let's go down to the 15 and see what we can see. Let's see. Where is my box? It's down here. Right. Pretty wicked W's. Pretty easy to see. I'm going to go over to the drawing tools. I'm going to scroll down to again, to the brush where the rectangle was. Just below that is the path tool. I like the path tool for this job. Makes things easier to see. That looks like a really clean W to me. And price went up. Right. It retraced. Made another clean W. If you were really watching, you could have made some money in this. Right? Another clear W. The 15 minutes good for this. You broke the 50, you pierced the 50, and you got a V reversal here. That might have been a nice quick scalp, but wrecked if you didn't take profit right away. And then what did it do? It made another V or another W, really. It's an ugly one, though. Well, this one's cleaner. Right, so here's an ugly W, but this one's cleaner, and it broke, bounced off the 50. So anytime you see this and a strong bounce with a higher right leg, right, clearly respecting the 50, you're long, right? That would have been a good move. We're on the 15-minute chart. This was probably 2-3%. Nope, a 1%er. 100x, you'd have doubled your money about 80% anyway. But then what? M patterns and wrecked. Friday at 5 is the general rule to be out by Friday at 5. So if we would have jumped in, so let's say our false move was here. I'm going to change that to red for the false move. Down. And let's just say this, what day did this happen on? The 15th. What day was the 15th? Monday. What day was this? 16th. So here's your Tuesday reversal pattern right here. Right? There's your Tuesday reversal. W patterns. It's not as pretty as some. But really what we had here was a continuation of this W here, because our false move led to the day trade. Although this was kind of like 2 or 3 false moves. They're not always clean, guys. They're not. They're shaking out both sides on this one. I bet if I laid in last week's high and low, it pushed up towards last week, and it usually does. Push up towards the previous week's high and then breaks back down. Happens over and over. So sometimes it's just dirty. Your false move was here. You could have got a day trade here. Or a scalp. Let's call it a scalp, right? And then your real day trade happened here with this W. And this W is beautiful. That's beautiful. You're not getting much better than this. Okay? Gorgeous. text on that.
Hey,
Let's
Bill.
write that up as the day trade. Here's somebody talking. What's going on, my friends?
Hey, Bill, I got a question about the initial move, the initial false move. It looks like it was started green. How do we know right there that it looks to me like it would be two false moves. It started up,
Look at the
and then I
size of
would
the
have thought
candle.
right there we would be going down, but we ended up going up.
Right, we ended up going back up. Well, I mean, overall, we ended up down, right? That stopped a lot of people out on that move down. But the false move, I'm not usually trying to trade anyway. The one I'm looking for is the Tuesday reversal, right? I'm not trying to, well, one, I'm busy too. I'm trying to catch that move for 3 days and then ride every coin that trades with Bitcoin. It seems to make sense to me. But the
Okay,
God
so don't
candles
be
are the
so
tell.
anxious to get in on that move.
Right. Don't be so anxious. Be more trying to figure out the pattern, right? More learning the pattern because it's going to pay. The 3-day swing is what pays every week. So the idea here, though, the tell is the size of the candles. If you're not using an indicator on TradingView, and so far, guys, we've just done this off base price action and a couple moving averages, right? This is really good for beginners, okay? The God candles are the tell. These are great big volume. There's a lot of volume in this. They left an inefficiency in the market. We talk about inefficiency sometimes and where you can find trades. Anytime you see a candle form like this, okay, you're going to have not very much volume in here. Let's take a look at an indicator called fixed, yes, vector, PVSRA candle, market maker candle, vector candles. I call them God candles. I've been calling them that before I knew that there was such a thing as PVSRA candles. I've just been calling them God candles. So that's my bad, but that's probably the term I'm going to keep using because it's the one that's stuck in my head. Fixed volume profile, fixed range. Add that to your favorites. Okay. Now this one wants you to set a point, and this box doesn't go away, so you have to close this box. No big deal. Close the box. And then what it is, just like you would run the Fibonacci on this downtrend, we're going to go 2 points. 1, 2. That's going to show us how much volume is in this run right here. So if I'm trying to pick a trade, if I'm trying to, I see these railroad tracks right here, and I want to know where the price is going to go, it's going to go back to the God candle. The most transactions happened here. This is auction market theory. Okay. The market works like an auction. If you've ever been to an auction, maybe they sell goats, steer, 4-H auctions, or I grew up going to tractor auctions and estate sales. When they have a lot of one thing, like this is a lot of Bitcoin, they will start low until they can get some bidders. Okay. And then eventually the price reaches a real high peak where it's just ridiculous. And then it comes down to a sort of even playing field where the most people can afford it and buy it, whatever it is. Okay. So in the markets, that's your value area high, your value area low, and your point of control. Okay. The point of control is where the most business was done. The value area high is where the most price was paid, right? Or the most volume was done, and where the least volume was done. These act like support and resistance. Okay, these set ranges that literally are support and resistance. And if I was looking for some sort of a trade on this, I'm looking at this low volume right here, right in here. Circle. There's a circle thing somewhere. I don't know. You guys see it, right? You guys see what I'm saying? There's no volume in here. These are volume candles, representative of the amount of volume. That's the most volume, point of control. And then my low value in here is right in the middle of the God candle. No transactions happened here. That's because the market makers dump a ton of volume in all at once and there aren't enough orders to take it up. So that pushes, just like discovery in auction market theory, in an auction price discovery, they're pushing the price to see where it'll go. Okay. So they push it down here. When you have a big area like this where there's no volume, you're going to get a retracement to it. And the great thing about this retracement to it is it also left a low volume area, which again led to a retracement back. And then these got filled with this choppy consolidation, and we go through consolidation until we go through another period of discovery, price discovery. Okay. It happens
Quick question.
over and over and over. Say it
Quick
again.
question, Bill.
Go ahead.
So what you're saying is that these long candles, when they don't have or when they do have volume, high volume, they have more of there's more of a probability that the price will hold if there's volume. Whereas if you, what I think you just said is that if you have a big candle with low volume, then it's
Price will go back.
probably not going to hold.
Right. Price will go back to that area.
Gotcha.
Right. So you have most of your auction people were buying at this price. So since most of the people were buying at this price, if I draw just a simple horizontal line here, let's do a horizontal line. Come down, horizontal line, right across there. That was support and resistance, pretty clean, wasn't it, guys? All the way across, right? The most business happened at that point, right? Extensions, and it created a range. We had low volume right here in the middle of this God candle. Okay, what I call a God candle anyway, vector candle. Price traded in that range for a while, right? It creates, and you could tighten it up, you could bring it down, right? So price really traded in this range between here and here, right? So let's change the colors. Let's change the point of control to red, so we know the most business happened on that line. Let's change the bottom, the value area, color to green. Let's change this one to, I don't know, what color should we change it to? Whatever. It created a range, and price traded in the range, right? And there wasn't very much business done here because the market makers dumped a ton of money in at once. That's what it means when I say they dumped in a lot of volume. They put in a lot of volume. They dumped a lot of money into the market at once. They went short heavy all at once, and there weren't enough orders on the other side to hold the price. There weren't enough takers. When it was short, you'd have to have people going. You always have to have somebody on the opposite side to take a trade. There weren't enough people on the opposite side taking the trade, so the price just plummeted. No business was done in this area. Price just plummeted. Price came down here into this range. It's about 70%. This is statistics, right? This is a distributed curve, or distribution curve, rather.
How did you
How are
put
you?
that vertical volume?
This one here?
Yeah,
Let's
that
do it
one
again.
there. How
Let's
did you
do it
put that
again.
in there?
Let's do it together. So go to your indicators, type in fixed, and what you're looking for is volume profile fixed range. If you're on TradingView, it'll be fixed range volume profile. It's the same thing but backwards. Okay, volume profile. And what that does is it just makes the God candles sort of stand out a little bit more. I don't really need to use this because I just look for the candles anymore, but it's very helpful to know. So in that range, you had the most business done according to auction market theory. The most people were doing business at this price. The most, it's hard to describe, guys, and I'm still learning, so forgive me. But my understanding is that there was a lot of volume done here too, and then no volume in this area. And when there's no volume in an area, no business was done here because they dumped too much money in at once, price will return to that area to create the balance. The markets need to be balanced, right? Balance in the force. So it comes up now. The beautiful thing about it coming up and doing and reclaiming this, they call them fair value gaps. Okay, you could draw a fair value gap in this exact same. So even without with the fixed volume tool, another way to do this is just draw a rectangle on the God candle. So go to your rectangle tool and start from the wicks, right? What we're trying to find is areas where there's no business done, and go wick to wick and come across, right? And right there, price comes through and reclaims that area, pushes through it, right? Takes out anybody that was short. Anybody that was short just got stopped out. And then what did they do? Crashed it back down. Brought it right back down through the fair value gap that it created here. Filled in the gap. Created this one. And over time, right, because these are also high volume candles. Both of these high volume candles. Again, then it comes down. And right, what does it do? It fills in those areas. So your eyes, you need to train your eyes to these candles, to these large candles, because price will recover them eventually, right? And the area The range that it creates tends to be a trade range for a while. Where were we at? We were in here. We drew our lines in here on this. So it'll trade. Now it'll extend past the range. When it does, expect it to overshoot the range. Happens 70, 80% of the time. Okay. If it overshoots the range, it'll cross up and blow through. It happens over and over and over again. Okay. Overextensions blow through. So very basic stuff that you guys can be looking for to really help you improve your trading. Okay. And then the Tuesday reversal thing is gold. 71, the back tests say 71% of the time, the Tuesday reversal holds till Friday at 5. An increase in value, right? Some percentage. Me personally, I'm taking profit. Maybe too soon. Okay. But guys, 71% of the time, that's gold, right? What questions do we have? Let's see. I got some questions in the.
I got a question. I got a question related to that candle, that second big, the green candle.
Okay.
Can you draw the fair that indicator that you brought up on that one?
Yep. I would run the whole run. And let me delete these lines. So we have a clean chart, or a reasonably clean chart. Okay, I'm going to drag this down here. When your drawing tools pop up, they'll pop up a toolbar. Just grab them, move them out of the way. Let's do, again, it's the fixed, somebody asked in the chat, it's the volume profile fixed range. Just type in the word fixed. You'll always find it. It's easy that way. Okay, fixed range. Now, you have to, again, close the box, but it's telling you what to do. Click a set point. You need 2 points. So I'm going to start at the bottom and go to the top of that run, just like the Fibonacci. I want the whole run. Okay. And now I've got my point of control where the most business was done was here. And as you can see, that's a nice trend line all the way across. Not very much business was done here. A modicum amount of business was done up here, but your 70% distribution was in here, right? Your value area high and low was really in.
What would that
here
look like if you had high volume? I guess I'm trying to figure out what those vertical.
So volume is when I talk about volume, I mean money in the market at once. Money being pushed into. There were a lot of buy orders in this candle. A ton of buy orders. Not enough sellers. And because there were not enough sellers, it blasts the price up.
You get that from the blue horizontal?
I get that just because I know that's what happens in these candles. But this tool will show you in very clear where the money is and was not, right? So, or where the amount, it's the amount of transactions. Okay. A lot of money was pumped in, pushed the price. No transactions were done here. Hardly any transactions were done here because there weren't a lot of sellers here. The sellers were up here at a higher price. So price jumped up to meet them. Make sense?
Yeah. So, okay. Gotcha. No, but what I'm saying is if there wasn't a lot of volume that caused, what would that chart look like if there was? Would it just be longer horizontal blue squares versus the tiny ones that you see there?
If there was more business done, it would look more like more like a distribution curve. You'd have way more. Let's find an area. Let's go to the daily and do a big one like we would do the Fibonacci. Look for some, like I have a few on here that we just drew. Let's delete that. Let's delete this. Let's look at the whole run from the last retracement at 74 to the high and see what it does. This will be fun. Again, this thing gets in the way, but bottom to top, because that's the direction price was going. Most of the business was done here. I'd put money that we come back to 104, guys. And then your range was really here, where it's bright colors. The bright colors are your value area high, your value area low, your point of control. And then there wasn't as much business done in here. And here, there was no business done. The price just pushed through, left behind a great big God candle. That's 89 grand, right?
So in this graph, the blue is the buyers and the yellow is the sellers. Is that what that means?
I expect that is what it means, yeah.
Yeah, okay, gotcha.
What do you guys think? Pretty easy, right? So if you're looking for places to buy, there's one right there. Let me change it to green. If you're looking for places to buy, here's another one, probably right in the middle literally the middle of the fair value, what they call the fair value gap. Once it touches the middle, they consider it closed a lot of times. So sometimes when you're laying in your landmines, you don't want to go. I mean, if you're trying to be, you know, loose like I am, I have orders everywhere. But if you're trying to, only have a few orders on the books and have them be key orders, then right dead center in the middle of the fair value gap is key. Okay. Here's another one, maybe right here.
Oh, I see. Because there's low volume right at that big green candle, the price is probably going to come back to that to cover that gap.
Right. To balance the force. You think about it like that. There has to be balance, man. Always. So we're already at this one. Right. So these are areas I would look, and maybe even at the very bottom of the value area, low. Right. Change the point of control to red so we know it's the point of control. We can almost be certain it'll come back here at 105. Because why? Because that's just what it does over and over and over, right? We can draw a parallel channel on here to get another idea of what we might be doing. Go ahead.
Bill, when you say there has to be volume, could you clarify? What do you mean by that?
Has to be so
Has to be balance.
there has to be balance.
Balance. Sorry.
It's just in nature. It's why they talk about it in Star Wars. It's not just a phrase from a movie. In nature, there has to be balancing forces for anything to work. Light and dark, water has to have the right amount of adhesion and cohesion. Things have to be balanced or they won't work right. So when the price pushes through an area and no transactions were done there, well, price wants to test it. And here's a perfect example of where one was already hit. Let's draw an arrow. I think we have cool arrow tools in here somewhere. I'll just use the path tool right here. That came and filled in this fair value gap. Let me draw it in with the rectangle. On this, from here to there was a fair value gap. Open season for retracement. And we got one right here. Change this to white so it's a little easier to see. Right? So that filled in that fair value gap. But this one never got filled. Now, how often do they fill? I would say that that fair value gaps are probably statistically similar to the CME gaps, especially ones this big. I would say somewhere in the neighborhood of 65% of the time, they'll fill. And guys, those are great odds. So if I had money on the board, it'd be sitting right here. I have money sitting right here in a limit order, just in case I'm sleeping and the price decides to plummet. I'm going to have an order there. I'm going to buy some Bitcoin at that price. Okay. I'm going to buy some Bitcoin. So does anybody have any questions about how this works? And I'll read through the chat.
Yeah, I've got a question. So if you go back to where you were explaining, I think it was in the 15-minute chart about the Tuesday, I didn't quite catch that 3-day move.
Okay.
70% of the time. So the purple box over there is the weekend, and then
Yes.
you got opening on Monday.
Yeah, you'll get a false move week beginning where the price will drop or go up, but it's not real. False move week beginning. Okay. And I'm going to change the color to white. It's a little easier to see. We'll make it bold. So the false move week beginning. Okay. And the tell is, again, the vector candles, the God candles, large candles, and no business. No and you can think of consolidation as where there's a lot of transactions happening. This small area, there's a lot of transactions happening. A lot of market makers are filling their positions here, one way or the other. Okay.
So that's a moment
And
to
that-
scalp right there, no?
Yeah, you could. If the range is big enough, by all means you could. And the way I look at it, I know that a lot of folks use the long and short position. I'm lazy, right? I just take the ruler, which is right in the middle of the drawing tools. It's easy to find. And I'm going to look, if I've got a range, and we already drew our range earlier, it was basically from here to like here. I'm going to go from the bottom of the range to the top of the range and ask myself, if I'm at leverage, can I make money here? This range was 0.81%. It was trading in 0.81% range. I could make money in that because I traded 100x leverage. Okay. And I wouldn't necessarily need to wait for a breakout. Now, before it broke out here, it was probably 0.41. My buddy TJ would probably tell you not to trade it. He would say, wait for this bigger action. If you're going to trade if you're going to trade ranges, wait for bigger ranges. Okay. Wait for bigger.
And Bill, can you hear me?
Hello, my friend. Yes, sir.
Let me just interject there too, guys. This is awesome, by the way, what you're showing everybody. And me personally, I would not give a signal to trade that area because that is very tight and you need to know what you're doing. You can scalp it, of course, like Bill was just talking about with high leverage and make money on a small move inside that consolidation zone. But that is not the optimal place if you're new and it's better to wait for a breakout. In my opinion, it's better to wait for it to break out of that consolidation zone than try to get caught up in that choppiness. It's very choppy, those little ups and downs. And yeah, you can, if you know what you're doing, you can certainly scalp that. And that's kind of going into the more intermediate and advanced areas. But me personally, when I see it in that zone, I'm not given a signal to go long or short. You'll notice that. Now, Bill and other people in the group that already know what they're doing, they may go long or short during that time because they know what they're doing. And that's why you're going to see a lot of wins in the wins wall from people who are taking trades that did not come from my signals because they already know what they're doing. They've learned how to enter and they understand these zones. But in the beginning, guys, if you're new, relatively new, or just getting started here, you don't want to get, in my opinion, you don't want to go long or short in those choppy little fine channels like that.
So Nico, speaking to that, would you have called a signal at the bottom of that first W as a swing trade for the week?
I probably would have once we saw that W forming, the one that he's circling right now, but I probably wouldn't have called a W until it got to that second plus sign up there on the right side of it, probably right there, because it needs to complete that W first. And also, if you notice where the bottom of the W is, it was bouncing on previous support going to the left over there. If you see, that support is pretty long running. And so, yeah, on that, I would have. But again, he's on a low time frame. He's on a 15-minute. And if you go up to the hourly and zoom out a little bit, things might look a little different. And so I like to look at the overall picture. If he drawed an upward trending support line from the bottom of all those W's, touching the lowest wick there, like if you take a line and just draw it from there, touching all of those all the way up, we're bouncing on potential support right now. And we have a long way to the downside. And yes, it could come down lower to the 114, zone. Where are we at right now? 115.8. But this is upward trending. To me, that's upward trending
on the 200.
Yep. Higher lows, it wicked down to the 200-day moving average. And it could also just come right back up in that purple box he's got there and hit the top and then maybe break out. It might be time to break out because that is an apex and we're about 70% into the balance of the apex, meaning that green line at the top and the white line underneath. It's coming to a corner, coming to a wedge. And we are 70% of the way to the end of that. And usually the breakouts happen sometime inside that zone right there. And so I would say that the breakout is imminent. I would share this screenshot normally, something like this, and say breakout is imminent. And it's either to the upside or the downside. Obviously, if it breaks below that white line and holds as resistance underneath that, then we could go into the weekend dropping lower all the way down to, zoom out a little further.
Is that a big M right there where it's at now?
That could be. I mean, it does look like possibly, but because it's an upward trending channel, you're going to get higher lows and higher highs. And sometimes that does look like an M pattern, and it does look like one, but because because it continues to create higher lows and higher highs, I would prefer to see the M more even. Yeah, that one or the left part over there to the left is the other part. Yeah.
I'll give you your screen back, boss. Let's do that.
Yeah, no problem. Hey, listen, I like watching. I like taking a break there, guys, because that was actually probably more instructive than even what I do. That was definitely more instructive. But yeah, I appreciate it. Thank you, Bill. And anybody has any questions about what Bill's going over?
I got one, Nico. On the second W was more of a confirming W, wasn't it, than the first one because of that last bar was lower. Isn't there something to that?
Continuation pattern. Yeah. That would have been a
Yeah.
continue because it happened on the 16th, which was our Tuesday. So we were looking for, we got the day trade here. So we had the false move and that led to all this nonsense. You're looking for a day trade setup usually on Mondays, right? So that was our day trade. And that led to a continuation pattern that led to the swing trade. But I'm going to jump. They didn't record it.
What didn't record?
Somebody just said it didn't record it, but I think it did. Was that you, Keith? Do you have a question, brother? No, I guess not. It's your show, boss.
You talking about this call being recorded?
I think somebody just asked about it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's being recorded. We're sharing live to Zoom, and when I got off, I just left. I turned it over to Bill too, so everything was still recording. But we're recording over to YouTube. So anyway, yeah. So basically, what?
Huh?
What's that? Guys, if you're not talking to me, mute yourself out. If you don't want to be seen on video, turn your camera off. Some of you are doing things sometimes in the background that you might not want the rest of us watching. Please turn your cameras off if you're not wanting to be seen. If you're not sitting at your desk looking at your camera with a question, then mute yourself and turn your camera off. And I say that with all due respect because sometimes we forget that the camera's on. And trust me when I tell you, we've seen some things we don't want to see over the years. So what we got here is just upward trending support and possibly a rising wedge, which could turn bearish at one point. Let's just now if I were to zoom in here, this looks like we're rising, right? Bitcoin's going up. But when I zoom out a little bit, is it possible that we're coming down? I mean, let's just look at this trend. So we had what appears to be a channel, right? And it looked like a bullish flag right here. That would have been something that we would have possibly been ready to go long on. And what did it do? It broke to the downside, created a W, broke out, did hit the top of this right here. Boom, broke out, did go up higher, but this was a little fake out first and went up and basically hit the top of this upward trending resistance line, came back down, hit the bottom of this flag resistance line as support. And then if I just continue this, it's kind of interesting. If I just continue that, it broke through, retested again, fell to the bottom of this channel right to here, bounced, came back up and hit the top again, couldn't get through and hold, fell back below, hit the bottom again, broke below, came back above, went back in, broke back below, retested again right there. If I just keep bringing this forward, it's kind of amazing how that works. And then, so is this relevant? Does this matter anymore? Not really, but it is kind of funny how when you just keep bringing that out, it keeps showing something. And we broke below it, and then we broke back above it, and then we started to break out. Why is that a breakout? Because if I bring this forward, let me just get rid of some of this stuff so you can see. We came up and hit that as resistance again. Why? There's something there, something to do with that, right? And then we break back above it and hold as support. And then we're climbing out. So to me, this was the overall downward trending channel. And if I bring this all the way to here, instead of where it was, all the way to here, then that perfectly matches up with all the lows. Boom, 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 boom. And then and right here is a breakout. So this is a breakout to the upside. Did we have that happen before? Yes, let's look at it. When was the last time that happened? Right here. Boom, boom. We made a high and we made a higher low. Here's the lows. So if we just look at this channel right here, we have upward trending support. We broke out, bounce, bounce, bounce. These are higher lows and higher highs. Higher high, higher high, higher low, higher low, higher low, higher low, higher low, higher high. And then we finally fell through right here. Boom. So this is done. Could that happen again here? Yeah, so same thing. We're making higher highs. We broke out like we did here. We're making higher highs still. We're still climbing. We're holding on to this upward trending support line. So what are we waiting for? Well, I was long yesterday in my signal channel. You might remember I had 4 or so open positions. Let's go back and look. Stop loss was at 114.7. Pumping to BTC pumping above the 117, move stop loss into profits at least to break even on all of my open positions, still in all of them. This is when we were breaking out and we pumped up to 117, and I moved my stop loss into profit and it took me out. This was, I think, here when that was happening. So we were coming back up now, and something's just interesting is happening. Let's see, Bill, you were talking about, let's look at a higher time frame and see. I was trying to, oh yeah, if we zoom out on the higher time frame, then what do we see here? We got even a more upward trending channel. So this is like Russian dolls sometimes, guys, because if you zoom out, you can see a much bigger upward trending channel. But when we zoom in on the lower time frames, like I just was, we see this, which looks like it's coming down and a little breakout, but we do have upward trending resistance up here, and we also have upward trending support down here. So it is possible for us to fall all the way back to this level, and that would be right around the 104 zone that Bill was just talking about. If I put this right here, where we had resistance and support, that is 104.5 or maybe 105, somewhere in that range. If we go to the left here, we had a lot of resistance here at this level, some wicks above it, but we never held above it. We came back down to the bottom. We're above it now. But if we break this upward trending support, I mean, we could ride this up for a while. But if we break that to the downside, then we're looking at possibly coming back down to this level. And maybe even this level, which would be down at the 101 level. And what would that be? That would just be a continuation of all this, guys. Sometimes that's what it is. Sometimes you'll see, or this one, that it might hold on for a minute, might break out, hit that, come up and retest that, hit that, and then fall through. So I use previous support and resistance lines sometimes just to get an idea of where I think it's going. So sometimes you'll see me post a signal and I'll say, breakout imminent. If it breaks below this line, we're going short, but wait for the retest. This is the retest. And then I'll say the first support under that, the next support below that is going to be 112,680 or something like that. And some of you might be wondering, why would he say that there's going to be support at 112, 600? And it's just because I see this, and most people don't. Most people don't bring that forward. And always, always, always it hits it and stops. And people are like, why did it stop there? And it's not just this that's causing it to stop, although it does have something to do with it, but it's also this. It's this and this. What's this? Just take it over. Look, resistance, resistance, support, support, resistance. It's amazing how that works. So when we're wondering where it's going to go, that's why trading in these little channels, in these tight channels, someone asked, can you scout that? You can, but you got to know where the channel is. You got to know where the top and the bottom of it is so that you know when to get in. You don't want to go long here and you don't want to go short here. You got to know kind of where the bottoms and the tops of these channels are first. Me personally, I just wait for the breakout. I don't want to trade inside this choppiness. I'll wait for it to break out, retest, and then we'll go long here. We'll wait for the breakout, retest. This technically is a long. I would normally give a long position here. I mean, I was in long. I already was long. I just got taken out when it came back below this level because it hit my stop loss in profit. But there's some weird things going on right now. It's choppy, but the overall trend is upward.
Nico, I have a question.
Yes.
The two yellow lines that are parallel and the widest apart,
Yeah.
do you ever consider doing like a narrower channel at the halfway point of those and
Yeah.
going up?
Yeah. So most of the time there is a halfway meridian line. There is a halfway line, and you can
Looks like
use
looks like it's staying above that in the recent chop.
yeah, you can use a parallel channel right here under the trend line chart here. You can use a parallel channel line, and basically what you do is you'll just draw the line on the top, touching all the tops, and then you'll double click and pull it down to the bottom. And when you do that, it will automatically have a center line built in. I'll go ahead and just delete this other line so you can see it clearer. And you'll notice center lines, resistance. I mean, let's just pull this back a little further. Look at that center line. Resistance, 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 support, 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 resistance, 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 support, support, support. We're balancing on the center line. Now, also another thing to note. So thank you for bringing that up, because I usually do look at the center lines, and I always draw center lines on bull flags just to get an idea. And the reason why is because bull flags tend to break to the upside. But here's one, let me show you. Like, for instance, whenever you have a bullish flag, something like this, let's just say. Let's just say that that's a bull flag, right? There's usually, most people don't see this, but whenever we finally break out of this bullish flag, right before we break out, two things have happened. We can go back and look at all of the times that we see bull flags, and we can see that this usually is the case. Before we break out and retest, two things need to happen. The reason why we know it's not going to break out here usually, and this would be a good time to short when it hits the top of this, is because it came from the bottom. Bottom, top, top, bottom, bottom, top, top, bottom, bottom, almost to the top, bottom, top. But this time it did not come to the bottom. So what is happening here, and why are we expecting a breakout? Well, one, it came halfway down. And generally on bull flags, right before there's a breakout, it comes down to the center line. Boom, and then it breaks out. So whenever we see a top hit and it goes past the center line, generally speaking, I'm not really worried about it breaking out to the top yet. It's just not ready yet. Whenever we come down to the center line and it just goes through and just keeps going, it's not ready to break out yet. So that's a good time to maybe short along the bottom. And also, another thing is, before it hits the center line, you also want to look to see, did we retest previous resistance as support before this happened? And all we got to do is look to here. You see this long wick? Was that the previous? Let's draw a line under it and take it over. And the answer is yes, that was previous resistance. And we retested it as support. We come back up into the channel. We hit the bottom, we hit the top, and we only come down to the middle line, and then we break out. So right here, when we see this hitting the middle line, we're getting ready for a breakout to the upside, and we're ready to long on the retest. Breaks out, retest, makes a higher high, does pull back again. But notice, whenever we see this, what do I always say? I always say that it needs to, when it breaks out, it needs to hit retest, and it needs to come up higher than where it broke out. Here's the breakout. It needs to get higher than that. And then when it does get higher than that, usually it comes back to retest that. So when's the right time to go along? Is it on the breakout here? No. Is it on the retest here? No. It should get higher than this first. So if you went long here, you could do that. But a lot of times what will happen is it'll break out, retest, and it'll start to go higher, and it will just go. And it may not even come back after that. But as long as it gets higher than this, then that's your green light to go long. That's the way the hedge funds teach you to do it. But a lot of times I go long just on the breakout here, just on the retest here, because I already know that all the other things were hit. We have a retest of previous support. We had a hit test at the top and a retest at the middle line. So bringing us over to here, on this overall upward trending support, we hit the top, we hit the bottom, we hit the top, we hit the bottom, we hit the top, and we're bouncing on the center line. So this could be the time that we have a breakout to a higher high. Maybe. So a lot, and I'm not saying just some of the times this happens, almost every time that's what happens. Let's go look at another one. Here's another bullish flag, very similar situation. We hit the top, we hit resistance, we break into it, top, bottom, wick down, hit previous resistance, wick down, come up, hit the top, come down to the halfway mark, and break out. Happens all the time. So that was this one here. I can show you over and over and over again where that happens. So yeah, it's good to draw it. In fact, you don't even need to do what I'm doing here, drawing a top line and a bottom line and then drawing a middle line. You can just come to the tool here and just go to parallel channels. I could have just done that right from the beginning, draw this line, double click and pull it down to the bottom. And now we have a center line built right in there.
So do you think the center line, is it recommended to take the trade to the upside, or you still want to?
No, because it could hit the center line and bounce and then still come back down. But generally speaking, this bounce here is after, remember what I said, there's two things that have to happen before we think it's going to break out. It hits the center line, but it also retested previous resistance. Here it did not. It just hit the center line and bounced. So I wouldn't expect it to break higher yet. It came down and bounced, but it still had a long way to go to hit the previous resistance. So, but here it did it. Here it wicked down to it. Up here, same thing. There might be some times here where we hit the center line like this right here, might have hit a center line, but and it bounced back up, but it didn't retest this previous resistance, but here it did. Boom. And so because that happened, and then after that it hit the center line, that's more likely to be time to break out. But yeah, definitely use the center lines, use those tools, parallel channels. I will do that. I try to do that. I just use my eyes, but it's nice to have that exact line right down the middle. That definitely is helpful.
Thank you.
Yes, and thanks for bringing that up. And we are like bouncing on the center line right now, guys. In the overall grand scheme of things on the way up. So you can see this blue dotted line right here. And there's other positive things happening if I go and look at the weekly. Except for the weekly RSI, we do have still bearish divergence happening, which is not necessarily positive. So, the price has gotten higher. So we have a high, higher high, higher high, lower high on the RSI.
That's crazy for the weekly.
Yeah.
Crazy.
And that's 3 touch points, maybe even 4, if you count this double top. Well, we had 108 and then 109 here. 108 and then 109 after dipping back down. So we had 108 and then we dipped all the way down to $90,000 from 108, $20,000 drop. And then came all the way back up to 109. But look at down here, dropped $20,000 and only came up to here for 109. So we had even a lower high here. And then we dropped all the way down to 75K, 74.5 to be exact. By the way, again, when we had this giant falling wedge here, guys, let's just look what happened. We had a giant falling wedge. Be easier to see on the daily. right here. And we did not break out of this until after we did not come down to a center line before breaking out, but we did come all the way down to retest previous resistance, which was crucial. 112 right here at the 73.8 or 74,000 range. We came right down to it, and we broke below this upward trending support line just to hit it, just to wick down that far. And that was the sign. Chad knew it. I wasn't quite sure yet, to be honest with you. I'll be honest, in this group, I was saying I still think we might be going down to 70K first. I was shorting this. Every time we hit the top, I was shorting this on the way down. But Chad started calling long signals at 74.5 somewhere. I mean, 75,000 right in here. And he was right. And it did break out and go up. But as you can see, it hit the middle line here first and then bounced on top of it here. But this wick right here was enough. It was close enough. It was 74.5, but this was 73.8. So to me, and this was 73.8. So to me, it wasn't close enough. You could see, look how close it came. Didn't quite hit it. If I really zoom in, it tried. Look how close. So I wasn't sure that that was enough. I thought maybe we would get this. It would hit that, come up here, and then come back down one more time and really touch this before breaking out. That's what I thought was going to happen, but it didn't. That was it. And so, of course, up here, I had to get out of my shorts and then reverse my position, and I made all that. I mean, I made a lot of money on the way down here, but I was negative on this short here because once it hit the top, I was ready to short again because I wasn't convinced that that was the bottom yet. So I was wrong on that position. Got stopped out and reversed my position up here, and then went long. But that happens every once in a while when you're confident about what you think is going to happen. You just got to make sure that you have a proper stop loss in place in case you're wrong. But it's fun. It's fun to test your confidence, because a lot of times when you really get good at this and you know what you're doing, you are right a lot of the times, and then you stop second guessing yourself. You get to that point where you're like, oh, should I post this as a signal for everyone? Because I may be wrong. But you just stop. I just don't worry about that anymore, guys. Not every signal we give is going to be right, 100% accurate all the time. That's just the way it is. I go with my gut instinct at this point. I go with what I feel is going to happen based on what I already know to normally happen under those circumstances. And 70% of the time, it's right. But there is that 30% where it's not. But you ever noticed, have you ever watched television? I don't know, some of you don't watch TV anymore, and in this day and age, no one really does anymore. But you ever remember watching the Weather Channel or the meteorologist on the news? And they come on, they're like, hello, everybody. It looks like we got sunshine today, but there is a 30% chance of rain. So make sure you bring your umbrella. And I used to laugh at that. I used to say 30% chance of rain. Why would he say that? Why would he say there's a 30% chance of rain?
Because so that people would manifest it. So they would do the job for him and make it real.
Yeah. Or he's covering his ass, because 30% chance rain means a 70% chance of no rain. But because there is a chance, and let's say it does rain, he's going to say, see, I told you. I told you it could rain. But it was likely to not rain.
I used to say, well, why you call it 30%? It's always 50-50. It's either going to happen or it's not. There's no in between.
Right. Yeah. And so it's like, so I gotta be 70%. I gotta be 70% confident before I'm going to give a signal. It's going to happen. This is 70% chance that this will happen. So my odds are greater that it will happen. And if it doesn't, so okay, 10 times out of 10 times I give a signal and it 70% of the time it works and 30% of the time it doesn't. That means, if you're doing this the right way and you're using proper risk management, then let's just use $1,000 as an example. you're gonna, on your losers, you're gonna lose $100 each time you lose, and on your winners, you're gonna make $500 each time you win. Then you got 7 winners at $500. That's 30, whatever that is, $3,500. My brain's not working at the moment, but so you got 7 winners times 500, $3,500, and on your 3 losers, you're losing $100. That's $300. So 3,500 minus 300, that's $3,200 profit on those 10 trades. You are going to have some losers. That's in a perfect world if those were the numbers. I'm just saying that the goal is to lose less on the losers than you're making on the winners. And then it doesn't matter if it's 50-50, like William was just saying. You can be 50% right, guys. You don't even have to be 60, 70, or 80% win ratio. You can be a 50%. You can even be a 40% win ratio if your winners, if the amount of money you make on your winners far exceeds the amount of money you lose on your losers. So that's why on the webinars, I say this is like learning a new language, but you don't even have to be fluent. You don't even have to be good at the language. You can have broken English. You can barely be understood and still get by in society without really knowing a language, right? So same thing here. Even if your win ratio is not high, as long as you're using proper risk management, you're going to make more on your winners than you lose on your losers. You'll be okay. So let's look at what's happening. Let's zoom in. It does look like we might be possibly breaking to the downside of this upward trend. Let me see. Do I have my lines correct? Probably not. Seems to still be bouncing, guys. And yes, there is a little bit of an M here. Someone brought that up earlier. It's a little lopsided, and we are in a upward trending channel. Oops. As well, where we do have tops and bottoms. But we did break out of a little bit of a resistance level here and hold it as support, and we are making higher highs and higher lows so far. So this low, this low, this low, high, higher high, etc. So for the time being, I'm going to say that, we could probably bounce here. Is this an M? A lot of people wonder, what about these patterns when they form? Does that mean for sure it's going to break to the downside? M patterns generally break to the downside. If it does, it could drop equal to the height of the M, but this is not a normal M. It's not regular to me. And if it does, where would this go? Probably back into this downward trending channel. But I'm not really looking at that as an M because we're in an upward trending channel, and a lot of times M's will form just naturally because you have a higher high and higher lows. That's even a better looking M if you ask me. And it bounced here and went higher. Here's another one on higher. So the trend is your friend until the end, as they say. This is the trend. It's upward trending. This is the support level. And every time we've hit this, you can see a few times where we wick below, went back up, wick below, went back up, wick below, went back up. We're wicking below. Are we going to go back up is the question. And since we are upward trending, my guess would be yes. My guess would be we will continue upward trending until we're not. The fact that we did not hit the top here also doesn't matter, because I will show you that could just be, if we do a parallel channel like we were just talking about, could just be hitting the center line on the way up. Maybe not. I'm gonna get rid of it for a minute just to show you. But there was a couple times here where we bounced, top, bottom, bounced, hit the middle, came back down, bounced, went above it, bounced on the middle, hit the top, came down to that middle area, bounced, came to the bottom, hit that middle, bounced, come back down. I mean, that's happened before. I'm not so sure that's the middle, but there's something going on here. And so I don't overly stress about that. I'm just showing you, I'm just giving you kind of the better way for me to trade that is less stressful is to be more reactive. Instead of wondering what it's going to do and worrying about what it's going to do, I wait for it to do it. So what is it currently doing that it has been doing? And that is it's been bouncing on this upward trending support. So the trend is that it will hold here. But what if it doesn't? Okay, well, that's a what if that I don't worry about. If it doesn't, then that means it's going to fall through. And then it might hold as resistance. What used to be support is now resistance. Well, then I will just go short. I'm going to react to that happening. So even if I decide to go long right now because the trend is your friend till the end and the trend is showing that it's been bouncing here, let me go over here and I'll just enter a long position just to show you. Let's just say I'm believing that it's going to hold here. It may not, but let's just say I'm believing it is. And I go long. Boom. And let's just say I'm wrong. Let's just say it doesn't. This is not a signal, by the way, but you're welcome to do it. The only reason I did is because I already got taken out of my long. But let's just say it breaks below this. Instead of going up like I wanted to, I want it to go up. But let's say it breaks below. And now I'm negative. Oh no, what am I going to do? It's real easy for me. I don't worry about that, first of all. Probably will come down and hit some support here. Why here? Because we got support, 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 support. It'll probably bounce there and it'll retest here as resistance. Because if it's really going to fall from here, it's probably going to retest previous support as resistance. And then once this happens, I will be negative here, but I'll be back to positive here. And once I see that it's bouncing there and not going back up, I will reverse this position by clicking this little button right there, those two little arrows, and I will now be short. And I will not have lost any money. And I won't even care. I won't even think twice about it. It's not even a big deal. So some of you are hesitant to enter positions because you're worried about whether you're making the right decision or wrong decision or not. And that's just something I cannot teach you. You have to kind of learn this over time, how you feel about a position. But you also need to learn to wait and sit on your hands and wait for the right time to enter. But if you are currently in a position and you are uncertain of the direction that it's going to go, it does depend on where you entered too. I mean, obviously there are times when people make really bad entries for sure. But what I just did is not necessarily a bad entry. That is bouncing on the bottom support line right now. And what has it done every time that has happened? All you can do is go back and look at history. Every time that's happened, boom, it's gone up. Boom, gone up. Boom, gone up. Boom, gone up. Boom, gone up. So if I look at what always happens when it hits this line, at least all the way back to here. How long ago was that? That's like 19 days ago. Every time for 19 days that it hits this line, it bounces. Is it possible that it's not going to continue doing that? Yes. And that's why the old saying, the trend is your friend until the end, meaning the end is when it stops doing that. But I instead of trying to guess that this time is the end, I will still bet on it continuing to do that until it is not doing that anymore. I know I'm trying to oversimplify this, guys. It really is that simple sometimes, is that, do you think it's going to break out now? Do you think I would bet that it won't? And I could very well be wrong, but I'm betting that it won't because it hasn't yet. But once it does, it's okay. It's not that I was wrong on my bet. It's that there's no reason to bet that it won't because it always has so far. And I always give the analogy. I like to give analogies, and I gave the analogy of if your best friend, if you have people in your life that always do what they say they're going to do, and let's say it's your best friend and he says he's going to pick you up at 6 p.m., there's no reason for you to doubt that he will be there at 6 p.m. because he always does what he says he's going to do, right? And so until he just one day doesn't do what he says he's going to do, you're just going to assume he's going to be on time. He's going to be there. You might have another friend saying, it's 6 now. I don't see him. Are you sure he's going to be here? And you're like, he'll be here. He always does what he says he's going to do. And then sure enough, pulls right up in 3 seconds. But what if that one day he doesn't show up? What if he gets in a car accident or gets pulled over, gets a speeding ticket and is late? Okay, well, that's the day that it didn't happen. That's the day that he finally didn't do what he said. And that's kind of how you have to look at this, that until proven wrong, until proven different, the trend is your friend till the end. And it doesn't mean there won't be an end. It just means that until there is one, we don't just assume that it's going to happen right here. Especially after.
Nico, where were those 2 arrows that you said to reverse it? I couldn't see it. I'm on my phone.
Well, on your phone, it's different. On the screen here, it's right here where the entry is, right here where my position entry is. If you look, there's an X. If I click that, it closes the position. But right next to the X, there's 2 little up and down arrows. And as I hold my mouse there, you can see there it says reverse position. So if I click that, it will reverse the position. But on your phone, you have to go underneath the chart into the trade details, and there is a position reverse button there, but it doesn't look the same as it does here. Let me see if I can look at my phone and see where it's at. Yeah, so on your phone, you see your open position. At the very bottom, it says TPSL, trailing stop, close, and then to the right of close, there's 2 little up and down arrows. I'll take a screenshot of that and show you. This is what it looks like on your phone, guys. This is the open position that I'm in. The one that I just did while you were guys watching. And right down here is the little reverse position button.
Thanks, Nico. Also, a side thing, a little larger cursor would be a great help to see where you're pointing to.
All right. I don't know how to do that, but I'll figure it out.
You go to Windows, search, and type in mouse settings. And then on the right side, it'll allow you to change it. So I had to do this too.
Also a suggestion, may I? Maybe you could make your RSI blues a little bit brighter. They're barely noticeable.
My RSI, what?
The blue color, it's barely noticeable on the screen. You
This
know, when
down
you do
here?
plastic, yeah.
All right.
Thank you.
Yes.
You have a newer version. Somewhere in there should be a size.
Looks like under related settings, mouse pointer and touch. Says size and color. On your right, go to your right, go down some. A little more right there, it looks like.
All right, I couldn't make that
There
out.
you go. All right. Hopefully that will be helpful. on here. It's not. It's showing up as a cross now. Instead of down here, it shows up. There we go. Is that better?
You know what? I don't think it got any bigger, to be honest. I think it's a zoom thing. Let me look it up.
Oh, it's definitely bigger. I mean, if you could see it over here on the left.
For you, yes, but I don't think for us it's bigger.
Oh.
I think it's a zoom thing. If I remember right, I had to do this in my Zoom. Let me go look it up.
All right. Well, I will tell you, I don't like it. So
I hate it. You should see how large mine is. I hate it.
So I haven't been on the trade view yet. It works basically the same as what we have on Phemex, right?
Yes.
This has more tools.
A lot better.
The color makes it a little bit easier to see for sure.
All right. Down here, you were talking about this purple. You want that to be darker?
Yeah, when you mentioned the blue crossing over the orange line,
Okay.
yeah, the blues are very dim.
Now that I changed my my mouse, it won't let me just open up these other windows for some reason, which is strange. There we go. So yeah, let me just go down here and look.
Wouldn't the blue crossing over the orange be on the
Yeah, it's
stochastic, not the regular?
Yeah, it's stochastic our side. Let me just change the size of this anyway, just so you can see it better. A little better there. If we go to the stochastic RSI. Is that any better?
Yeah, yes.
Definitely brighter. Yeah. Thank you.
Yes. Okay. And also, guys, with that being said, on the stochastic RSI, we do have the blue line crossing the orange line to the upside. And the orange line is starting to get up above this dotted line as well. Generally speaking, they both have to do that. They both have to be above the 20 on the RSI in order for there to be a big pump. But that is looking like it's about to happen. And as you can see, we are also bouncing on the EMA ribbon right here. Boom. And then if I go to the daily time frame and I zoom in, we flipped the ribbon. So we were bearish on the ribbon down here. We flipped back above it and then got above the 50-day moving average, and we bounced on that. It is a little red at the moment, and the blue line did cross to the downside on the daily. So we could have a little bit of a drop in the short term, but I have a feeling that we're going to bounce and possibly fly again back up to these higher levels. So let's go look at we do have possible little liquidity pool sitting down here at the 114, 115 zone. I would say probably down to 114.5 And so let's go look at that. Where would that bring us? That would bring us right to about bouncing on this same line. So we could see a wick down. We certainly could. Right here, boom, and then possibly even come all the way back up into that channel. And it wouldn't look much different than some of these other ones. In fact, if I really want to, let's see how much more precise I can be here. If I really want to touch the exact bottom there, instead of bringing that up to there, which I think is accurate, touch the exact bottom there. Maybe even like that, where we're touching all of these and bringing that through right to there, boom. Where we did have some touch, breakdown, touch, support, wick down, support. Then technically speaking, we're not even on that line yet. And if we break, and if we do come down and wick down to this level, to me, that would still be above this line and above this upward trending support. And it would just be like this, where we might wick down and hit that 14.5, take out that liquidity, and then bounce right back up and stay inside this channel. Very, very possible to do that as well. And then I'm just going to leave that line there for now, because that's probably what will happen. I'll just stay in this long for the time being. There's no reason for me to close that out if that happens. But what I will do is that if it does come down further and hits the 115 or the 114.5, I will just add more contracts at that point. I will bet that it's going to bounce and go back up. And if I'm wrong then and it keeps going, I'll just reverse the position at that point. Not that big of a deal. Henry says, like trying to surf waves, just wait for a good set. Yes, you can wait for a good trade setup. Marlon posted the ME gaps, CME gaps, I mean.
Yeah, that's helpful. Like a breakdown on how often they actually fill in.
Yeah, you guys might want to copy what Marlon shared in there.
I'll put it in the side chat too.
And then Bill can obviously explain that as well on the what these are. A lot of times we come and fill these gaps. Bill was kind of talking about that earlier, but I think he probably was explaining it while I was gone. But
imbalances in the market where the market makers push things up really fast and there's not enough participants on the other side of the exchange. It leaves, it's like support and resistance. It just comes back to those prices. And how often it happens is always a subject of debate, but it gives us really good odds. Fair value gaps, it says 70 to 80% of the time they fill in with price action, and then CME gaps 60 to 80% of the time. And the CME gap is left on the weekends after the Chicago Mercantile Exchange shuts down for the weekend, and we tend to run the price up or down against them. It leaves a hole in their chart, and those fill 60 to 80% of the time. Those odds beat Vegas every day of the week.
Yep.
I'm gonna put that in side chat for everybody. That's good stuff. Thank you, Marlon.
someone mentioned XRP breaking to the downside. Let's go look at the XRP. Yeah, it's under $3 again, guys. I don't think you're gonna find a better time to buy XRP. I mean, don't get me wrong, it could get a little better. In fact, if we take this overall bullish flag situation here, we might even be just coming down to retest.
Yeah, XRP is probably going to drop because they waited until almost midnight to fill my weekly order in the other day, trying to get them get me at the highest price possible. They probably know it's going to drop.
Yeah. Any drops I think happening here on XRP, guys, is temporary. And it's shaking out certainly going to shake out the weak hands. We could come down back again to the 270, 280 range. We could hit this and then break out. But I do think we will be hitting the $4, $5, $6, $7, $8, $10 range sometime in the relatively near future here. So I would be, I'm personally not shorting XRP in the near term here. I'm waiting. I would rather wait for a breakout to the upside. And as you can see, we are in somewhat of an upward trending channel. But I think that there's some big things happening with XRP to be distracted by these little moves in the market, which tend to happen. I wouldn't worry too much. Me personally, I'm not stressing over these little turns. So like if you're a scalper and you know what you're doing, you can certainly take advantage of these little downturns, but when we went long down here, guys, I don't know if you remember in the group, if you've been in here long enough, but we longed this SEC announcement back here in October of 2024. And we had a tight stop underneath that. We didn't know whether they were going to approve or disapprove or the legal battle was going to be over or not. But so we were betting that they were going to win because there was more upside potential than there was downside potential. And it was a long running tight wedge that we were winding into, basically. And so we were long, sitting there long, waiting with a tight stop loss underneath just in case this thing was getting ready to crash. And that was, I think, to here, it was like ridiculous. And we went up from 49 cents to 80 some cents, somewhere in here. It was like over a 1200% gain with leverage. And then, I mean, look at this, guys. This is what's going to happen. This is what's going to happen when they flip that switch with XRP. It's just going to be parabolic upside moves. I mean, look how quickly we pumped from 49 cents up to the $2 to $3 range. And we've held up here ever since. And we did have some consolidation periods, but as you can see, these are higher lows so far and higher highs. So that is the trend. And we are winding in possibly to the middle. In fact, if you want, we can take a parallel channel here and go do the bottom thing. A little bit better than my line that I drew. And came right up, even though this is a downward trending wedge here, it did hit the center line there. And bounced on it, and bounced on it, and bounced on it several times. So yeah, I'm going to wait for it to break out. I'm going to wait for it to either bounce off here or break out of this channel to the upside before I give any more XRP longs, unless you're already in it. If you're already long from down here, because we did go long down here on this breakout, and some of you have been holding for a while. But anything sub $3, in fact, I had a good friend today who's a real estate investor friend of mine who's got millions of dollars, but he doesn't have any crypto. I was telling him, I asked him if he had any XRP. He said, no, I think I got some Bitcoin and a crypto.com or crypto.com account, but I haven't logged in a long time. And he just doesn't care because he's already got a lot of money and he's got a very successful business. But he's also a gambler. He goes to Vegas a lot. He sports bets. He does all this stuff. I'm like, dude, if you're a gambler and you're okay with that kind of risk, I would buy I don't know how much money, loose money you got sitting around, but I would buy as much XRP as you can afford. And not worry about it. He goes, all right, so that's all I told him. I helped him open up a Coinbase account because he didn't have one, and I just figured for him be the easiest thing for him to do because he wanted to connect his bank account. And he, within minutes of me telling him that, he bought $100,000 worth of XRP. $30,000 worth. I mean, 30,000 XRP. That's how rich people get richer, guys. They just make quick decisions. Now, you might say, well, it's easy if you got the money, but it doesn't matter how much. I was telling him to have at least 1,000 XRP, because if it goes to, $1,000 over the next year or two, or even in the next few months, you'll have $1 million sitting there. He goes, well, in that case, I'll buy 100,000. But I think a lot of people roll their eyes when they hear me say XRP to $1,000 or higher, because they don't think that it's possible because of the market cap. And I'm saying that it doesn't matter about the market cap, because it's about its use case. Basically, if they are consolidating or handling a quadrillion dollars worth of transactions on a daily basis, then the price needs to be that high in order to accommodate that. And that's what seems to be being set up right now with all the banks and major governments and institutions around the world on the Ripple network for XRP, to be able to take over the SWIFT network that we've been operating on for the last 50 years in our financial systems. And with the Genius Act and all the governments moving over to digital currency and going to back the US dollar with Bitcoin as a federal or national reserve, Bitcoin is not a fast, speedy transaction technology, but XRP is. What normally takes minutes or even hours to handle in the normal financial markets with Swift network takes milliseconds with XRP. So you won't see it happening, but whenever you use your credit card or transfer money from one bank account to another, or send a wire or an ACH draft, or deposit a paper check online by taking a picture of it, however long it normally takes, which may seem quick to you right now, for those transactions to settle. I mean, I have a deposit right now, one of my business accounts, from a property manager who's making a deposit from the rental income coming in from a property, and it's pending as a deposit. So it's not available yet. It's taking days for it to clear. That will be a thing of the past once this financial system is switched over, because it'll instantaneously handle millions of transactions, instantaneously clear them, and have a accounting on the ledger of exactly what's happening in real time. And I mean, it's amazing to me that they didn't switch this technology years ago, because it's been available. They just taken this long for the powers to be to understand the benefits of it, or how much better it is. And so it is happening though, and XRP is at the forefront of that. And it is the ISO 20022 qualified, and the top crypto that's going to be handling all of these transactions. They don't even have to handle all of them. If they just handle 15% of the entire Swift network, you're looking at $1,000 XRP. If it gets more than that, guys, it could be $10,000. It could be $25,000 for one XRP. And I don't care if you believe that or not. And right now,
Nico, with the lower interest rates, if that spurs on the housing market, I mean, when you do a closing, it takes 3 days to 5 days to get it to you once you've signed the paperwork, and to get that done faster, and that's a lot of money that they can be moving.
oh yeah, this is gonna revolutionize everything, guys, and that's why it may seem like it's taking a long time for this to all transpire, but they're getting everything set up. It's in the works. It's not like To me, it's not a question of if, it's just when. And the powers that be, this is probably the only time in history that I know of, in my lifetime anyway, that the average person out there, the retail market, can literally front run the institutions. You actually have an opportunity to get ahead of them. Not ahead of them. They already know and they're already setting up for XRP, but they're going to be buying, they're going to be transacting in trillions and quadrillions. Trillions and quadrillions of dollars on a daily basis that need to get cleared in the clearinghouse of all the transactions. And XRP will be handling all that. So the institutions don't mind if a few people, if a handful of people get rich in the grand scheme of things. It's just the nature of the beast. It's just the way it is. Some people are going to get mega rich. To you, $20 million, $30 million, $50 million sounds mega rich, but to them, it's nothing. It's nothing. Quadrillions of dollars a day being transacted. So even if you get lucky and you have 100,000 XRP and XRP goes to $10,000 and you make $1 billion, $5 billion or something ridiculous like that, it's still nothing to them, because you're only one of a handful of people that will ever have that many and actually be in that position. Out of the billions of dollars of people, billions of people in the world, only a handful will be that prepared in advance. And some of you might have 1,000, 2,000, 5,000 XRP, 10,000 XRP, and great. If XRP goes to $100, well, just $100. If you have 100, if you have 1,000 of them, you can make 100 grand. If you have 10,000 of them, it's $1 million, right? And so, but $1 million is not really that much in the grand scheme of things. But to you guys, this would be the easiest way for you to become make a couple $1 million. It's just to hold a handful of XRP. Take a couple few $1,000s if you have it, throw it in there.
But Nico, also they're the banks and this financial institution that they're developing is coming in on the back end of, yeah, I mean, how much money has been put into crypto since its inception? You know, there's been a ton of money. So it's kind of like a Shark Tank. You know, they're not just investing in a good idea. They want a business that's um, already in a way successful and doing well for them to hop in and make good, quick money off it. And that's what they're going to do.
Yep. And they don't care what the price is at that time. Like, okay, yeah, could they have made more money if they got in at 50 cents or 30 cents or 12 cents? Yes. But the timing is the time, doesn't matter. Like when everything's set up and ready to go, if XRP happens to be $4 at that time, and then billions and maybe hundreds of billions come pouring in. By the way, the XR, I mean the ETFs and the hedge funds are already, I think, $25 billion traded or something like that. Already XRP hedge funds, XRP ETFs already in place. Billions are going to pour in, guys. The price is going to shoot through the moon, and it is going to go parabolic. But some of the powers that be, they don't care. You buy, if it's $3 by then, fine. To them, that's still a bottom. But for us, it allows us to actually control some of this and have some of it before it happens. And that just doesn't happen normally throughout history. Average persons usually not able to front run the system. Usually they have these things set up and they create these things before anybody else even knows about it. But in this instance, they can't, because XRP Army has been around for 10 years. People have been stockpiling and hoarding XRP for 10, 12 years already. And so the powers that be, the big players, they're coming in late in the game, but it's still early for the masses. But there are a handful of us out there that have a lot of it sitting there waiting. And so we're going to benefit from it. And this is an opportunity for the people in the know to do that. And very few people know this, guys. I can't believe how many people I know personally that know me and know what I do. And they're friends of mine that just don't have any crypto and don't have any XRP. It's amazing to me. They just have no clue what's about to happen or what's been happening. Donnie says Coinbase XRP reserves are down 90% in the last 3 months. People are stockpiling. People are buying it up. Someone was asking earlier about, let me just scroll back up and see something about Grant Cardone.
Yeah, I think if he's got legit reviews and he goes syndicate, he goes into syndication with the members and he's going to teach you and cut years off your life, then it's worth investing in yourself. You know, he's got a huge following. You can't be a complete scam artist.
When you're talking
But do you need
syndication,
him?
you're talking about real estate?
Yeah.
Yeah, he does syndication. I mean, you can invest in his funds, but he's only paying you 5% annual returns on money. And that's okay if for passive investors who don't want to do anything and don't want to understand anything. You give your money over to someone like him and he makes big money, hundreds of percentage gains on investors' money, and he pays back the limited partners a small pittance in comparison. But if you learn how to buy your own apartment building, you can get 100% of your money back and 100% more equity and cash flow for life without him controlling it, if you just know what you're doing. So I always.
As I said, I think
So
he got a class action lawsuit because he had unaccredited investors invest, and he was promising a 15% return. So yeah, like you said, it was more like maybe 5 or.
Yeah, it's low. I mean, I know people get a little check every month because they put 100 grand with them and they get like a very small amount every month or quarterly, depending on when they're getting their distribution. But
it is a good question though, if somebody was interested in getting into that, where would you send them to start their research, if not Grant Cardone? Because I think that's the question. That's what they're looking for, and that's the advice they need.
I would not get into syndication. That would not be my advice. Syndicate, I mean, is it better than nothing? Yes, but it's like when there's too many people involved, it just dilutes everything. And not everybody agrees. You got too many partners, too many investors. There's 20 people involved, 50 people involved in some of these projects that he invests in. So he buys $100 million apartment building and he has 1,000 investors. And everybody's getting a tiny little piece of that. And you have no control whatsoever because you're a limited partner, and you just got to go with the flow, whatever they decide to do. If they're going to refinance it, they're going to sell it, whatever, and you're just going to get let's just say you put 100 grand in, you're getting 5% per year. That's $5,000. Divide that by 12, you're getting $400 a month. Are you going to be happy with that? Because you could take that 100 grand yourself and put that down as a 10% down payment or a 20% down payment on a $500,000 quadplex in your backyard where you live, somewhere near you, and put 4 tenants in there and own 100% of it, have no other investors or partners with you, and collect cash flow for the rest of your life that's going to far exceed. And plus, you're getting all the equity, you're getting all the appreciation, you get the depreciation for the tax benefits. Me personally, I would much rather not have any partners, or very few partners. If right now I have 2 or 3 partners, and I purchased over 300 units of apartments in 9 buildings, and I have 2 other partners besides myself. So we have calls once a week, 2 or 3 times a week with our property managers and with the 2 other investor partners. But I know them personally. I trust them. We're all on the same page. We all want the same thing. We're not trying to flip it. We all have our own income from other sources, so we're not desperate for the money right now. We're looking for long-term appreciation. We're going to hold these properties for 10 years. We're going to, get them to cash flow and get the tenant, the rental income up as high as possible. We're going to refinance, pull all the equity out, and take a big distribution tax-free, and we're going to keep the properties and let them cash flow long-term. So we all are on the same page. But if you have 100 investors, no one's on the same. They're not all on the same page. So me personally, I would not recommend syndication. But a lot of people think that that's their only choice because they don't have enough money to play in the big leagues or control anything themselves. So they want to go and be part of a giant wheel that's already turning. There is another group I would recommend you to. Yes. So if you really have those questions and you want to be in a syndication on a smaller level with a small group of people that know what they're doing, and not Grant Cardone. I don't personally trust Grant Cardone. No, I would not invest with him. Is he legit? Yes, but he he's definitely all about himself. He's taking investors' money and he's flying around in private jets and living in, $20 million mansions while they're getting tiny amount for their investment.
I follow several syndicators, and the best ones are talking about an IRR of 20%. So basically, you double your money in 5 years. Nobody promises that, of course, but they have a track record, including several funds that have performed at that level for the past several years. The problem is, of course, you lock up your money for 5 years. But if you can live with doubling your money in 5 years with some degree of risk along the way, there's several good ones out there.
Yeah. And I agree, there are. And if that is a comfortable, safe investment for you, and if you feel comfortable doing that, I mean, if over the last 5 years ago you put the same amount of money in Bitcoin, you would have doubled your money every year. Now, of course, you might say, well, that's more risky. Is it? I don't know. Bitcoin's track record for the last 10 years is 100% per year, year in, year out. But if you would have bought 1,000 Bitcoins 6 years ago, that would have cost you $13,000, and you'd have 100 million right now. So the return is ridiculous compared to real estate. So now, of course, there's no guarantee that that's going to happen either. But I love real estate, but real estate is slow, and I just prefer to have more control over it. But if you want to get involved in syndications or with groups of investors that are paying or making those kinds of, just make sure you trust, who you're. I would personally go meet them in person, go to their office. If they're legit, they will invite you to do that, and they will walk properties with you and show you how it's all done. But yeah, this is a whole nother conversation, guys, outside of the crypto realm. But I know a lot of you want to learn all kinds of ways to make money and what to do with your money. Lisa says, Nico, I was referred here by one of your partners. Oh yeah, who was it? Where's Lisa? Matt says real estate is good passive income. You set it up and buy it right. 100% Nico. Been an investor for 8 years. Lots to know. Yeah, I mean, I like real estate, guys, and I'm buying it myself, but I like to negotiate the deals. I like to buy from distressed sellers that have distressed properties. There's a lot of room for improvement. There's a lot of upside potential. Grant Cardone's buying A+ buildings in A+ communities in Palm Beach and Miami, and $100 million apartment buildings that are A+ high luxury rentals. And so the return is going to be lower. Technically, it might be safer and there's less maintenance, but it's already been, there's really not much upside. It's just passive income. But if you got enough money, first of all, if I had $1 billion, do you think I want to go and risk anything on anything high risk? No, I'm going to take my measly 5% or 6% per year and be happy. I will do the safest things possible, because 5% of $1 billion is, a lot of money every year. So there's no reason to risk it at that point. But if you're trying to build wealth, what I do is I go find the 50-unit apartment complex that I can buy for 1.5 million, which is the price of a normal house here in my area on the water. It would appraise for 3.5, 4 million once it's fully rented and fully upgraded. How much is it going to take to upgrade it? I don't know, maybe a couple $100,000 more. So you're going to have you buy it for 1.8, you got 250,000 to put into it. Now you got 2.2 into it. You get it reappraised for 3.8. They give you 70% loan on the reappraisal, which is 3.2. You pay off the 1.8 and you take $1 million cash free loan proceeds in your pocket after you pay yourself back everything you got into it. And now you still own this thing and it's cash flowing 50 grand a month for the rest of your life. I mean, that's way better than anything Grant Cardone would ever offer me. But you got to know how to do that stuff. You got to be with the right people that are doing it in order to understand it. And how are you going to find those deals? You got to have deal flow. You got to have enough deal flow, which means you got to look at 100 properties before you buy one. And most people don't want to do all that. So that's why they go for those people that already know what they're doing. They already have the deals. They present the deal to you. Hey guys, for 25,000, you get a piece of this. And for 50,000, you get this much. You're going to make 20% a year. And that sounds like a great deal, especially if you're a busy person and you don't have time to go learn all that stuff or how to buy and how to negotiate and all that stuff. But if you're really going to take it serious, I would suggest you learn as much about it as possible and try to find your own deals. I personally would rather have 5 duplexes that I own and control myself than put the same amount of money in with someone like Grant Cardone. Me personally, I would rather control all of it than have somebody else involved. But oh yeah, Lisa Morgan. Yeah, Morgan's a great guy. Morgan real estate, and that's why I get involved with Morgan. Morgan has 700 apartments. He's 28 years old. You get involved with people like that who know what they're doing and who are doing big things in real estate, and you just become a partner with them. Either I would say a general partner. You don't want to be a limited partner, in my opinion. You want to be a GP. You want to have some say in the matter. So it looks like we got a lot of real estate investors in here, a lot of people who know what they're talking about in the real estate world. And I don't mean to, I'm not saying anything bad about anything. I flip houses. I wholesaled houses. I've done it all in real estate. I've owned properties. I bought luxury real estate and lived in it, improved it, sold that, made money. I would say probably the biggest money I made in the shortest period of time was real estate related. It was, flipping a house or buying something and then selling it later. The biggest checks that I got all at once were probably real estate related. So I love real estate. I'm never going to say anything bad about it. It's just the more I do it, the more I've done in it, now I'm just focusing on the bigger apartments, and I'd like to control, get as few partners as possible on them. That's just my personal preference. Yeah, Lisa, he's a good guy. Definitely.
Nico.
He's also a member of the Crypto Renegades. He's just so busy with his real estate stuff that he never comes in here. Yeah, go ahead.
Is there a safe, decentralized exchange where you would feel comfortable buying XRP and transferring it to a cold wallet?
I use Coinbase. I've used crypto.com. You can do it on Phemex.
Decentralized.
Phemex.
Phemex?
Phemex, the trading platform that we trade on.
Right.
Are you brand new, Barry?
No.
Do you have a Phemex account?
I have XRP in Coinbase. I have quite a bit, and I just want something that wasn't reported to the government.
Oh, okay. Hold on 1 second. Guys, just so you know, Bill's starting the onboarding. If you're a brand new member here, you need to get on the onboarding call. Bill just started that at 2:00. And it's 2 right now. He put the link in the chat here on Zoom. He also put it in the Discord group in the main chat and also in the announcements channel. So if you're brand new, hop over there. Definitely get on the onboarding call with Bill. I'm going to wrap this call up here in about 5 minutes. But if you already have it in Coinbase, then it's kind of already there. It's already kind of, if XRP goes to let's just say, I don't know how much you have, but let's say you have 1,000 XRP sitting on Coinbase, and XRP shoots to $10,000. Okay, you're gonna have millions of dollars sitting on Coinbase. There's no way around that. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, if you decide, you still can get around paying taxes, however, because until you cash it out or sell it. But what you can do at that point is hire, an asset management company to create a crypto holding company for you where you transfer the ownership of that. You're still going to have to transfer it out of Coinbase, but then when you do your taxes, you're going to show that you own that in an asset, or you're the manager of an asset that owns that now, and you're going to have to pay some kind of tax, I'm sure, but it's going to be smaller than if you sold it. But you're also not going to be the owner of it anymore. You're going to have a custodian. I can't even explain it in the detail that it needs for it to make sense to you, but there is a way to do it. And there are companies out there that do that for you. We talked about that Jake Claver guy, his company, Ascension Management. They do all that. They help you. Now, it's better to have that stuff set up before the big upswing, the big upside. If you have it in a holding company and you already open your account in a business entity name, and then it shoots to the moon, well, that's probably safer and better. But it's not going to be the situation for everybody. A lot of people just have crypto sitting somewhere in an account that they have in their own personal name. And so I still think it's a good problem to have. I wouldn't worry too much about it. I have a lot of money. I have a lot sitting in Coinbase too. I've been with Coinbase since 2000 and I don't even remember, like 10 years I've had Coinbase account, probably more than that.
Nico, does it make a difference if it's in cold storage or Coinbase at all in that from that perspective?
Well, yeah, I mean, cold storage, it should be a Web3 cold storage wallet, Web3. And cold storage just means, guys, that you're in control of it. Whereas on an exchange like Coinbase, technically speaking, there's an old saying in crypto, not your keys, not your crypto. It just means that Coinbase could freeze your account at any time. They could block you from logging in at any time and you will not have access. What will you do? You will have to email them. You'll have to get on support. You'll have to argue with them. You'll have to find out what's going on. You'll have to prove to them that it's you. There's all kinds of things that can happen on a centralized exchange. On a decentralized exchange, that can also happen, right? Because somebody else is controlling the exchange. On a cold storage wallet, the cold storage wallet is your possession. With the exception of the internet going down and the power grid going down, you would still have your crypto in your possession until everything went back up. If the internet went down, the power grid went down, and there was no light, there's no electricity for weeks on end, you don't know what's going on with Coinbase if your money's on Coinbase, right? And if the power grid goes back up and Coinbase goes back up, on the internet goes back up, is everything going to still be there? You don't know. You don't really know. But if you have a cold storage wallet, that's the same. The best example I could give you, it's like, you remember back in the day, your grandparents might have taken cash out of the bank and put it in a shoebox and buried it in the backyard, or put it in tin cans and put it under their bed. That's what they did, that because maybe they remember economic hard times or depressions. And they probably remember, if they came from another country, they probably remember when there was a run on the banks and the banks had to close. And if the banks closed here in the US, guys, there would be a run on the banks. And what that means is that if too many people go to the bank wanting to pull out money at the same time, the banks do not have the money to do that. They do not keep in reserve all the money that is deposited. They don't, not even a small percentage of it. So if you went to the bank right now, and let's say you had $1 million in the bank, and you went there right now and said, I want to pull out my $1 million in cash, they would not be able to give it to you. They would tell you, sorry, you're going to have to come back next Tuesday. We're going to have to order the cash from 5 other banks.
Let me ask you this question. Suppose I've bought XRP on Phemex and used quite a bit of margin to do it. And then I move the XRP over to a cold storage wallet. If it were still in Phemex, I think the way it works is they're collecting interest from me every day on the borrowed money by reducing my margin a little bit every day. I think that's how it works. Correct me if I'm wrong. But if I move the asset over to cold storage wallet, how are they collecting interest from me? And how could they liquidate the account if it hits the liquidation level?
You cannot have your money in 2 places at the same time. So if you transfer from Phemex to a cold storage wallet, it's no longer going to be in a trade on Phemex. You can only transfer from a spot wallet, which is dormant crypto just sitting there on their exchange. If you're in a long position, in a open position with leverage, you cannot move that crypto out of that account. So you would have to close that position and then send it to your cold storage wallet. And once you've done that, you are no longer in a trade with leverage anymore. So you will have to do both. You will have to send some crypto into a cold storage wallet and leave some in your trading account to trade with.
Okay, fair enough.
But the crypto that you leave in Phemex is not in your cold storage wallet.
Right.
And the crypto that's in your cold storage wallet is not tradable. That's just sitting there. You're holding that until it goes up in value.
All right, got it.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Lisa, I'm sitting here with 10K in my hand. Maybe I'll buy some XRP. It's definitely losing purchasing power sitting in your hand. That's the problem with cash. Every day that goes by, cash gets less valuable. We all want it. Everybody wants to make more money. Everybody wishes they had tons of cash, but the problem with it is that it loses buying power every day. So unless you put it into something that is holding value at least break even. In other words, it's keeping up with inflation, which to me is 8 to 10% per year. You got to be making 8 to 10% per year on your money in order to break even. Anything over that, so real estate, crypto that has good potential to go up in value. And there's only three that I'm really heavy in, which is XRP, Bitcoin, and Ethereum. I have 100 other ones, but I'm not buying all the time all those other ones. I don't really care, because if XRP does what I think it can do, everything else is irrelevant. Even all the real estate I have is irrelevant.
There you go.
Yeah.
What's a safe amount of total assets do you feel comfortable with on Phemex?
That's a good question. I mean, Phemex has, you can go into Phemex. In fact, I'll pull it up right now and I will show you. They have a proof of reserve. You go into your back office. Let me just share my screen here. I just went into that. You can find this by going up here to your account information and then going down to proof of reserve. Proof of reserves as of right now. Okay, 116% Bitcoin. I don't keep much in here. I keep enough to trade in. This is my demo account that I use to give examples on and trade in. So US reserve customer assets, 21,869,000. And well, hold on, I might be reading that wrong. 218,693,991. Phemex asset wallet, Phemex reserve, 200. And in other words, they match the customer's asset over 100%. Phemex wallet, 2,220 Bitcoin. Phemex wallet, 11,100 Ethereum. So that's pretty safe. Over $158 million traded every 24 hours turnover on Phemex. But still, with that being said, I'm not going to keep all my eggs in any basket. So I've had as much as $100,000 in my trading account, but I generally don't keep it there. I'm sometimes around 20K. And then if I have a nice trade and I get above that, I move that money out into cold storage or Web3. I use Descent. Descent is the wallet that I have and use. Is the cold storage wallet that I use. It's Web3 based. So you have a fingerprint scan on a device that allows you to make deposits and withdrawals. You cannot withdraw, and you can go on the app and see your balance, and you can see all your crypto by on your app. But it's there's only a couple ways to get into that app. No one can open up the app on your phone. Even if you lose your phone, they can't open up the app unless it's because they're using several different measures. One is your eye scan. If you want to use a facial recognition ID on your phone. If you don't want to use that, there's a fingerprint scan on the device, and then there's also Google Authenticator. So there's several different ways to see the money in the app. But even if you had your phone open and your app open and someone snatched your phone out of your hand and could look at your app, they cannot send anything out of there or deposit anything from your wallet without your fingerprint, without your approving that. So you got to authorize that. So to me, it's safe, but it's also Web3, which allows you. The reason why Web3 is important, guys, is because the major institution and the major exchanges, the centralized exchanges like Coinbase and all of the banks eventually will require you to be on a Web3. If you have a cold storage wallet, they will probably get to a point where they will not do business with or interact with cold storage wallets unless you're on Web3. Because you're going to eventually have to, like if you want to move that crypto, let's say you have $1 billion sitting on your cold storage wallet. You sat on Bitcoin for 20 years. You sat on XRP for 10 years. In order for you to use that, with the exception of private transactions. In other words, you could buy a house from somebody and transfer XRP to their private wallet, and they can just sign the deed over to you. That you can always do. You can buy a car or anything that somebody's willing to accept crypto. You can always do that. But if you want institutional grade lending, you got $1 billion with XRP sitting in your cold storage wallet and you want to borrow $10 million against it, you're going to have to transfer that crypto to a institutional custodial account. They're going to want to hold it in order for them to loan you against it. And you're going to have to be able to transfer to those types of institutions in order to do that. So just be careful. You know, everybody talks about cold storage wallet, but there could come a time when your cold storage wallet can't sync, or you can't send anymore to a centralized exchange. You'll always be able to do decentralized, but if you ever want to get it back on a centralized exchange or into a bank or anything like that, you could have a problem. You know, for everybody who wants to be out of the system and private and nobody know, that's great in the decentralized world for sure. I agree with that. Be decentralized, but you might have to do business with a centralized institution at one point, and they're going to know where you got that money from, where you got that crypto from. They're going to know it's yours. They're going to want ID. They're going to want to KYC you. I mean, I can't
Well,
go
Nico, in that regard, I'm sorry, in that regard, unless you have a way that you can go to Phemex's office with cash that you're not declaring at the airport, there's going to be a record of your transfer, whether you're using your bank or Coinbase or Cash App or anything. I mean, your bank, if you're going to send money, that's reported. If it's over $10,000, that's reported to the government. They know. Coinbase, they're going to report.
Sure.
So you have an account with Coinbase, they're going to send something in. They know you have an account. Does that mean everyone's going to be audited? No, but if you are audited, these things are there. So the money you have in Phemex, and that they may not send out anything to the IRS reporting profits or losses or anything like that, but they'll know that you sent money to them.
Yes.
There's no way around it. You are going to be found out. If the government wants to find out, they're going to find out.
Yeah. So with that being said, what he's saying, guys, is that if you have a Coinbase account and you transfer to Phemex, there's a record that you transfer to a wallet address. Do you think that Coinbase and Phemex don't communicate with each other? Do you think that Phemex's wallets that you get when you open up a Phemex account or any decentralized account, those wallet addresses they're either blacklisted or whitelisted. Blacklisted meaning they've already been circulated around to all the exchanges as scam wallets, right? This is why if you transfer accidentally, even without knowing it, you transfer from Coinbase to a scammer's wallet, and that scammer's wallet address has already been reported as a scammer, your Coinbase account might get blocked or frozen because they think you're doing business with a scammer. And maybe they'll do it to protect you, or maybe they'll do it just to investigate you to make sure that you're not the scammer himself. Right? So Coinbase, Phemex, Bybit, Binance, all of these huge decentralized platforms are totally legitimate. They're just in the decentralized they're just decentralized, which means they're not registered with the Securities Exchange Commission. They're not registered with the federal government. They're not complying with US regulations, all that stuff, because they don't have to, because they're not in the US. They're outside of the US. You can still do business with them. But there is a record. Now, do they know if you sent $1,000 to that wallet address? That's all they know. That's all Coinbase knows, is that you sent $1,000 to that wallet address. They don't know what you turned it into or whether you lost it. So you can always say, yeah, I did. I tried, but it didn't work. I lost it. But if you get audited and if they were able to subpoena Phemex, I don't really know what would happen, to be honest with you. Phemex is out of Singapore. They have offices in Dubai. They are tax-free over there. If you lived over there, you wouldn't have to worry about this, right? But like Norman was saying, is that if there is a will, there's a way. There's people who've opened up accounts in Western Samoa thinking that they were safe and outside of the jurisdiction of the U.S. government, and the IRS still sees their accounts. So listen, all I like to say is that make as much money as you can, whether it's in the system or out of the system, Make as much as you can, because it's still a better problem to have than to not have any money. But at the same time, you can fight those battles later. But I always recommend, and we've said this many times on these calls and on our webinars, is to be compliant and do what you're supposed to do. Decentralized doesn't necessarily mean you never pay taxes, but there are ways to move the money around and to structure yourself legally and lawfully using entities and holding companies to minimize or reduce your tax liability as much as legally possible. Loans against crypto and things like that, those are all possible, but you've got to be structured properly. If you just have a lot of crypto and sitting in Coinbase and the crypto goes up in value a large amount over the coming years, that's still better than not having it, guys, even if you have to pay taxes. But there are also a lot of changes happening in the world. The IRS has downsized tremendously, like 25,000 job cuts at the IRS. They're not really equipped to handle the amount of people that are in crypto. They don't even know what's going on, I don't think. Now, I'm not speaking for the IRS. I don't know. But I know that I tried to make an adjustment on one of my tax returns, and they told me that they can't do it. I can't do it online. I have to come down in person to the local office. So I said, okay, can I come down today? They said, no, the next opening, the next available appointment is June 27th, which was 3 months out. So I had to wait 3 months to go make a simple change that you could normally make on any kind of website. It was just a simple change. And then when I got there, I sat in the waiting room for 3 hours to then go sit in front of somebody sitting at an old desk with an old computer with a fax machine sitting behind them. So from my personal experience, the IRS is so far behind and so ill-equipped to deal with everything that I think I just think that your chances of getting audited, your chances of all this are slim. And if that does happen, it'll take years for them to figure anything out. Now, with that being said, still don't do anything illegal. Okay. But I think they're on their way out. I think changes are happening. Trump is making big changes. And if things do change positively, who knows? The IRS could be eliminated. Income tax might be eliminated. I hope that happens. But but until that does, you still have to pay it. You still have to do the right things, right? And so, when I'm dealing with real estate and when dealing with other businesses that I have to comply. I have CPAs, tax attorneys. I have all these people that we pay thousands of dollars a year to just to make sure that we're doing everything by the book. So regardless of what I say, I'm always doing things by the book because I've dealt with the IRS before and I don't want to deal with them. I don't like it. But do I like the IRS? Hell no. Do I think that you should work 4 months out of the year for free and give and split all of your profit, all of your hard work and energy with a governmental agency that takes that money and just does the dumbest things with it? If we don't even have a choice of what they do with the money, they're just sending pallets of cash to Iran or Pakistan. Do I want to be part of that? No. But you still got to comply with the law. So with all that being said, that's my rant for the day. But thank you, Norman, for bringing that up. It is true, guys. You got to be. I think people worry too much about the tax part of it when they really should just worry about making the money part of it. Because I'll gladly write a check to the IRS for $1 million if I just made 30 million. But if you don't want to make 30 million because you don't want to pay the IRS $1 million, then your head is not thinking properly. You're welcome. Thanks, Kelly. Appreciate you. Thank you, Germain. I can't pronounce people's names properly anymore. I apologize. Monica Long, president of Ripple, confirmed her participation in the Senate Banking Committee. XRP will be the backbone of the new financial system. Yeah, it is. It is on its way, guys. That I know, and that's why I'm so heavily invested in XRP. And we're talking about, guys, I mean, most people in this Zoom call right now can afford to become mega rich. What I mean by you can afford it is that it doesn't take much at $3 per XRP to accumulate enough to make you mega rich. And if you need convincing, the fact that you join this mastermind, the fact that you're in this group right now hearing this, when, I mean, it's a very small percentage of people that know this, that all of this is happening and will happen. So you're hearing it from people that are heavily invested and believe in it. I mean, I got close friends, even my real estate investment partners, heavily invested in XRP right now, because if everything is true and all the planets align, now you might say, oh yeah, but all the planets have to align for that to happen. Yeah, but they are aligning. They're being put in place. And even on the low end, if it only goes to $10 in the next couple months, that's 3-4x from where it's at right now. But if it goes to 100, 300, 1,000, 3,000, some of you will be worth hundreds of millions of dollars. And I assure you, at that point, your measly $3,997 you paid to be in this group will be laughable.
Hey, Nico, got a question for you.
Yes, sir.
Yes. So for like XRP, when it starts to really appreciate in value, there's a choice of selling it, right, for USD. There's also, I've heard, other ways to sort of get money out of it, right, that you can use. So things like staking or borrowing against it.
Yes.
Is there anything that you've heard that might be sort of legit and something that we should kind of look into?
Yes. Definitely never sell it. Never sell. That's like killing the goose that's laying the golden eggs. When you have an asset that appreciates that much in value, it would be equivalent to you inheriting a city block in Manhattan that your grandfather bought in the 1800s. So if you sold it, yes, you could walk away with $1 billion, and then after taxes, 500 million, let's just say 600 million, and that would still be fine for most of you. You wouldn't have to worry about anything anymore, right? But now what? Now you have 500 million that you're going to start spending, and that's going to dwindle away after that. Whereas if you have $1 billion worth of XRP and you borrow against it, which is what we talk about all the time in this group, and I already mentioned this several times on this call earlier, that at that point, you would then transfer your fund into a holding company type of situation. There are companies out there already. Nexo is one of them. Coinbase will probably be lending again. Coinbase back in the 2021 previous bull market cycle was loaning up to 60% on Bitcoin. And it was only like 6 or 7% interest that they were charging. And Bitcoin was going up at 100% per year. So I think they paused their lending, but I think they'll be back on track to do it. Phemex lends. Some of you may not know that, but you can borrow on Phemex. You can also stake. But yeah, so if you have $1 billion and you want to borrow 100 million, for instance, that would be tax-free loan proceeds. And you still have your $1 billion worth of XRP, which could continue to go up in value, but it's also, you can stake it and earn enough interest on that to pay the loan back without you having to ever get rid of any of your XRP. So it's kind of like the real estate situation. You don't go and sell the brownstone, the whole city block that you inherited in Manhattan. You simply just continue to rent out the units and you let the tenants pay off the loans until you have no debt anymore. And then you refinance and pull all the equity back out. Now you're cash rich again. It's tax free because it's loan proceeds. And you just let the tenants continue to pay off that loan. You never have to come out of pocket. It's perpetual money machine forever.
I figure if XRP or any coin is increasing by 10x or 100x or something like that, it's got to diverge from Bitcoin wildly. In fact, it doesn't even require a bull market in Bitcoin. A Bitcoin could be dropping by 50%, and yet, XRP could be increasing 10x or 100x. In fact, it almost has to happen if it takes 5 years to appreciate to that degree. There's probably, if history repeats itself, gonna be a bear market in Bitcoin, and these things just diverge wildly over the course of several years.
Yeah, good point, Tom. And I've said that a few times over the last 50 calls or so. But There will be a decoupling of XRP and Bitcoin. Usually the altcoin seasons is when Bitcoin loses its dominance and starts to veer off from its all-time high or from its high of that bull market and starts to taper down. And then the altcoins usually take off for a little bit and they have their own little bull market cycle. But there will come, and mostly XRP and Ethereum have been correlating with Bitcoin over the years. Generally speaking, the charts look almost the same day in and day out. But buying XRP right now, and to answer your question, Lisa, how much should we aim for in XRP right now? I have 86% in Bitcoin, 6% USD, 7% in XRP. Is that like what Tom was just saying? Is that if Bitcoin can get to, according to Michael Saylor, let's just say in the year 2034, so we got about 9 years left. 2034, 99% of all Bitcoin will have been mined. Okay, right now, 19.5 million Bitcoin have been mined. There's another 1.5 million left, and there's a halving every 4 years. And so in 2034, 99% of the Bitcoin will have been mined, and the remaining 1% will take 100 more years to mine. And so Bitcoin can get to 10, 12, 13 million, 15 million, even as high as 20 or $30 million per Bitcoin over the next, let's just say 15 to 20 years, naturally, just by supply and demand. So Bitcoin gets to $10 million, guys, as Michael Saylor certainly thinks it will, even by the year 2040, which is, we're not talking about a long time from now, but it's just, so we can go to $1.5 million, $2 million in the next bull market. We can go to 4 or 5 million and the one after that. You know, these bull market cycles are 4 years, every 4 years. So, 4, 8, 6, 12 years, you're looking at possibly, I don't know, $15 million per Bitcoin. Can that happen? Yes. But Bitcoin, but how many X will that be? Bitcoin's 100,000 right now. Bitcoin would need to 100,000, let's just say it's 100,000. Let's round down a little bit, times 100. Bitcoin will 100x from where it's at right now, from 100,000 to 10 million. Okay, and so XRP, 100x's, that's only $300 for XRP. I will tell you this, if Bitcoin hits $10 million, it'll be more like 1,000x. It'll be more like 1,000x for XRP. Buying XRP right now at $3 is like buying Bitcoin when it was $13. And look what happened. So take $100,000 right now and divide it by $13, and that is a 7,692x on Bitcoin. Does anybody know when Bitcoin was priced at $13? How long ago that was?
It's up 500x in 10 years. I know that.
Yes, exactly. At 2012, Bitcoin was, well, it was 5 cents it was 5 cents in 2010, but in 2012 it hit $13. 2012. So we're talking about 12 years ago. 12 and a half years ago, give or take. So if you would have bought 1,000 Bitcoins at $13, that would have been $13,000. And what is 1,000 Bitcoins worth right now? Times, let's just say $100,000. That's 100 million. So could that happen to you right now? I don't know of any other crypto that this can still happen to you right now other than XRP. Because XRP, if you buy it right now, it's like buying Bitcoin in 2012 at $13. Except for the difference is you're not going to have to wait 10 to 12 years for XRP to go up 1,000x. I think that can happen within the next 3 to 6 months. It can happen in the next 3 to 12 months.
The part of this that I don't understand is the part where you say the price of XRP increases simply as a function of how much of it is being used in moving money around for its intended purpose. Let's say $1 trillion is moved through the XRP technology. how does that translate to an increase in the value of XRP?
Yeah, I've heard it explained much better than I can explain it, but in order for that much money to be moved, let's say $1 trillion on a daily basis, and it's probably more like a quadrillion, it's probably more like several trillions, but there has to be an equal amount of stable coin for every XRP in order to handle the swap and the liquidity. And so in order for that to happen, the price of XRP needs to be a certain amount in order for them to go one for one with a stable coin. And I believe what is the stable coin for XRP going to be? Anybody know?
You mean the name of it?
Yeah.
RLUSD. I bought some in my XRP wallet as soon as it came out.
Yeah. I mean, to me, there's no reason to buy it because it's a stable coin. So it's going to stay equal to the value of the dollar. It's not going to go up or down in value, but it is necessary.
The channel for getting out of XRP some percentage when it pops. I have a ready-made, what would it be? Not deleveraging, because it's just spot.
Yeah, I'm actually trying to find a good explainer video. I've shared it before, and I've actually went live. I've actually shared it live on this call before explaining it, but it doesn't have so much to do with the market cap of XRP. There's billions of XRP, right, in circulation, but they're burning 5,000 XRP per day, and they're not making any more XRP, and there's only so much liquidity in the retail market, and the banks and the financial institutions cannot buy it directly from just XRP company or Ripple founders. They have to buy it on the open market, which will cause the price to go up. That's already been ruled that will be the thing that happens. Let me just see if I can find the person who explains it.
A lot of people confused about stable coins versus XRP or XLM. So I want to just delineate the differences between the two so people have an easy explanation that they can show other people. Stablecoin requires smart contracts, right? So these are going to be fallback provisions, things where the asset can be frozen. Governments want domain over their currencies if they're sovereign currency, and they are the one that's issuing it. And so they want all of those things in there. With XRP, it can be frozen. You can blacklist addresses. So if you don't want to receive XRP from somebody else, you can blacklist that address, but nobody can freeze your asset. And there's no smart contract capability for clawbacks or other things like that. When you send the XRP, it's gone. Okay. And so it's very difficult for a government to take these things from you, whereas CBDCs, they can do that all day long. So, and they could govern how you could use it, when you could use it, what you could spend it on, all those things. So those are the main two differences for people that are like wondering why somebody, would invest in XRP versus just using a stablecoin for transactions. The stablecoins are relying on third parties or the other person. And so with that, there has to be a level of trust there. And if you don't trust that intermediary, you're going to use something like XRP.
All right, that's not really the video I wanted to show you guys, but since we're going to talk, since we're looking at it here, let me just see. Yeah, I don't want to spend too much time on this right now, but
Nico, he had a video where he was explaining it. It's the market cap that they have in the amount of business that they're and divided by the available coin that's left. So, if there's 10 billion left, or if there's 5 billion left, or whatever, that would determine the price of the coin itself.
yeah, left on the open market, you mean? Left on the retail?
Yes.
Hold on a second. Yeah, I had some really good videos of that being explained. Unfortunately, I can't find them right now. I don't want to tie you guys up too long, but I will find them and share them in the group with you. But there is a great explanation as to why it doesn't matter what the market cap is and what has to happen for the price to get to those levels. There is some things that have to happen. It's not just a switch that's going to be flipped. There's things that have to be put in place. The difference is that these are not pie in the sky things that have to happen. These are things that actually are in the process of happening. They're already in the works. So it's not a question of whether they're going to happen or not. It's kind of when. And that's from my understanding. So I'm not going to take any chances. I'm going to have a lot of it in case those things do happen, because from my experience so far with XRP, I started buying it was 15 cents. It's already 20x since I started buying it, just like Bitcoin. So what is XRP right now? It's $3 divided by, let's see, 0.15 cents. Yeah, 20x. It's gone up 20x since I started buying it a couple years ago. Lisa, how much should we aim for an XRP? I mean, that's a personal thing. I can't tell you what percentage of your portfolio that you should invest. That's totally up to your risk tolerance. I know there are people out there that say, oh, only invest 10% of your, all your risk capital into crypto. Crypto's risky, but I have found that had I invested 90% instead of 10% over the last 10 years, I would have been much richer now. For your crypto account only, I would say, I mean, it depends on, I would even it out with Bitcoin at least. So maybe you can move some of your USD and some of your Bitcoin into XRP.
Nico, what is
just real quick, XRP has a higher percentage of a multiple than Bitcoin right now. So Bitcoin could 2x easily. Even in this bull market, Bitcoin could 2x. It could go to 100, it could go to 200 grand by the end of this year. It is possible. But if that happens, XRP could 10x or 20x during that same amount of time. Whereas Bitcoin is not going to 10x in this bull market, but XRP could. So your likelihood of a higher ROI is greater in XRP. But at the same time, you still want a lot of Bitcoin, because when Bitcoin does get to $5 million or $10 million per Bitcoin, at that point, you have some great borrowing power and you have a great asset sitting there that you can borrow against, and it's legacy wealth at that point. And you don't want to start buying it at $1 million, right? When you can start accumulating it at 100,000. Same with XRP. You don't want to wait for XRP to get to 100, 200, or 500 or $1,000 per XRP when you can really accumulate a lot of it right now at $3. I'm sorry, Norman, go ahead.
in this new market that we're talking about with XRP going up and other altcoins and things, they're essentially providing a service. That's where their value is. What is Bitcoin's place? What is Bitcoin providing that gives it value other than perceived value, like the banana on the wall art?
Yeah, good question. Once the majority agrees that it's a store of wealth and it's starting to get to that point, then that's all it is. I guess, a Picasso or a Rembrandt for sale at the auction house. It's a store of value. It's a store. Well, it's also a piece of art. You can look at it. You can appreciate it on the wall. You can even touch it, and you can show your friends and stuff, and it goes up in value over time because there's no more of it ever being made. And if you bought all 10, let's say there was only 10 Rembrandts in the world, and you bought all 10 of them, then you control the entire market. Now, if you were to put one for sale, then you can, anybody who's been waiting for one of them to come on the market will snatch it up really quick. What happens when there's no more Bitcoin available for sale? How does it get its value? Is it like a Rembrandt? I mean, does it have any art? I mean, is it art? Can you look at it? No, but it is categorized as an asset class. It is categorized as a commodity, right? So very similarly, Bitcoin is a limited supply. There's only 21 million that will ever be mined. Once those are done, there is no more. It is technically it's an inferior technology to XRP. It doesn't make transactions go quicker. It doesn't do anything faster. It takes 15 minutes for it to clear when you transfer it from one account to the other. It takes a long time. But if it is just categorized as a store of wealth and a holding asset, kind of like gold, yeah, you can make jewelry with it, but what else does it do? It just sits there and it's heavy and it's hard to move around and it's cumbersome and it's pretty to look at, but other than that, doesn't really do anything. But because it's supposedly a limited supply, it tends to go up in value over time. But gold is not a limited supply. There is more gold in the ground than probably has ever been dug up so far. There's probably an asteroid on its way to Earth with more gold on it. And so therefore gold has perceived value as well. But really the main thing gold is used for is to make jewelry with. And they have to dilute it with other metals even to do that. So what does gold do? It just sits somewhere. It sits in vaults, in bars, and bricks, and just sits there. And that's kind of like what Bitcoin is being categorized as digital gold. And so with that being said, I really can't answer your question, Norman, other than maybe perceived value, but that's the same way money is. Money has been that way for years. The US dollar bill is perceived value. It's not backed by anything. It's literally a piece of paper. It's not even paper. It's cloth and strings and other materials put together. And the only reason that the clerk at the 7-Eleven will exchange a Snickers bar for your dollar bill is because the perceived value is that dollar bill is worth the price of the Snickers bar. But once it becomes known that it's not, once people do not have faith in it anymore, or the value goes down, then they're not going to accept $1 for that Snickers bar anymore. In fact, they might not accept $1 anymore at all and might want something else from you, like Bitcoin or can openers or something else that has a higher perceived value. So value's not back, dollar's not backed by anything, but we all want it. We all perceive the value, and that's only because it's being accepted right now as a medium of exchange. I don't even know if I answered your question, but it's my only logical answer for that.
Yeah, kind of. I mean, it's in what you were just saying. There was talk several years ago, people excited about the possibility of Bitcoin becoming our dollar, our exchange. If that were the case, and I could see a real value to Bitcoin, because it's actually being utilized for something. Gold, yes, it looks pretty, it does just sit there, but it is also utilized in manufacturing and things like this. So that there's a value there as well. But I mean, not saying one's the same as the other, but I mean, the reason why I never did anything before is I always looked at it as, art. It was only as valuable as someone perceived it to be. Now that's everything. I mean, your house, you're only going to get what someone's willing to pay for it, but that's based on a market of other houses and things. That there's a bunch that goes into that.
Yeah.
Bitcoin is just there. If I think it's good, if all the energy is in Bitcoin, then it's going to go up and I'm going to make money off it. XRP and these others are actually providing a service, doing something kind of like gold. It's providing something, where I was just curious if you had, if you knew what Bitcoin is providing to the crypto world, other than just like you said, a store of value.
Yeah. So I don't think Bitcoin will ever be the medium of exchange, but it certainly could be the reserve, and it could be a hedge. We could go on the Bitcoin reserve, meaning, and Trump has talked about it. He wants to buy 1 million Bitcoins over the next 5 years as a dollar reserve, and back the US dollar with it. And if that happens, it's like going on the gold standard again, except for the Bitcoin standard, which is better actually, because it's digital, it's not cumbersome, doesn't have to be vaults with armed guards, and not only that, but there really is a true limited supply. There's only so many Bitcoin that can ever be mined because it's a mathematical equation, and that's it. Once there's 21 million that's been mined, that's it. That's all that ever exists. There will come a point that there is none for sale on Coinbase, and you can't buy anymore. And everybody who has it, until someone wants to sell some. And so there might always be a seller, but you might not be able to buy 10 of them or 100 of them. You might only be able to buy one, and you have to wait for another one to come available. That can happen in the future. And so I don't know if you remember that movie Waterworld with oh, what's his name? I can't remember the actor's name, but
Kevin Costner.
Kevin Costner. When water became so valuable that people were just fighting over it and storing it and hoarding it and trying to, hide it. It's like, that's what happens when people put value on something, right? And obviously in that case, it was valuable because you need it to survive. But gold, Bitcoin can become digital gold. It can take the place of gold, and it's easier to transport, easier to send. If you had $1 million worth of gold and you wanted to take it to another country or send it to a friend, that's a very difficult prospect. It's very dangerous, for one. If you transport it, if you try to get on a plane with it, it might get confiscated. If you try to sell it, okay, you're going to have to show ID and where did you get it from and prove everything. Also, somebody might want to steal it from you if they see that you have it. Whereas you can get on a plane with $1 billion worth of Bitcoin on a hard drive, and that no one even knows exists. It could be a bracelet that you have with a little chip in it that has $1 billion worth of Bitcoin on it. And you can also transfer that to somebody in another faraway country, and they can have it in 20 minutes without anybody knowing about it. So there's a lot of benefits to Bitcoin that, as a store of wealth, that you may not readily see on the surface. But so once it does, and obviously one Bitcoin is $110,000 right now, or $115,000 right now. So comparing it to the value of the US dollar is almost absurd at this point. It's gone up at a rate of 100% per year over the last decade, whereas the value of the dollar has gone down 100% in the last, almost 100% in value in the last 10 years, almost 10% per year. So yeah, it is what it is, but to the degree, like everything else, it is what we believe it is, and it is what we're told it is. So whatever the value is, people are buying it based on that right now. I think, but I would recommend that you go watch some Michael Saylor videos, because he's got a much better explanation as to how much superior Bitcoin is to gold and almost every other asset class if it's used in the way that he wants it to be used. It's also the only asset in the world that you can actually take with you when you die. The reason why is because if you die, someone said, LOL, what? Yeah. If you die and you have real estate, well, that real estate is just going to be sold to someone else. It's going to be liquidated. It's going to be taken over by whoever else, so the banks or the death tax and all that stuff, right? If you have cars or houses or jewelry or money, cash in the bank, that all goes to your heirs or somebody else. But if you have $10 million worth of Bitcoin and a cold storage wallet and no one has access to that but you, and you didn't give anybody else the codes, it's going to sit there forever, throughout eternity. No one will have access to it.
Nico, quick question.
Yes.
I was wondering, I've seen some things online about some of the new AI and the supercomputers and everything, and that they possibly might be able to hack, the crypto, I guess, code. What are your thoughts on that?
Bitcoin being hacked?
Yeah, they might be able to figure out the algorithm for
quantum,
it.
Yeah, with quantum computing, I guess it's possible, but it hasn't been able to yet. So I don't know. I'd have to see that to believe it. I don't really know. That's beyond my mental capacity. Chat GPT already does some crazy things. AI is already doing some crazy things that I would have not imagined just a few years ago. I mean, my girlfriend and people that I know, they don't even use Google anymore. They just use Chat GPT. I mean, Google is already using it probably if you Google stuff, but some form of AI. But so quantum computing could have enough computers to eventually figure out the code. Just like, guys, it's probably possible also to guarantee a win in the Powerball, winning the lottery, if you had enough people to buy enough tickets in a short period of time. So you'd have to have probably 10,000 people stationed at all the different stores around the country, and then you'd have to supply them with $1 million each, and they would have to buy all day every day, 10,000 people, until they bought $1 million each worth of numbers, and they'd have to be buying a different number every time. in order to buy every possible combination in order to guarantee a win. There's not enough time in the day. You don't have enough money to do that, and probably enough people that you would trust to be able to do it. But technically, it's possible to buy every possible combination.
Thank you.
So I don't think that's going to happen, though. I don't know, to answer your question. I don't know if that's possible or if that will happen. But from what I understand, if that is possible and someone does do that, it would have to be like a fork. It would be like a fork in Bitcoin where they could then steal, Bitcoin, but it's not the real Bitcoin. It's not I don't know. I don't know. It's beyond my comprehension. I'd have to look into that to see what really the odds are of that happening. But there are some very smart people that don't think that can happen or will happen.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I'm sorry I don't have an answer to that. I'm not intelligent enough to have figured that out. I guess everything's possible.
With the unclaimed or dormant crypto, California was talking about a bill to confiscate dormant crypto of Californians, and
they would only be able to do
try
that
to solve their tax burden.
Yeah, they would only be able to do that if it was on centralized exchange. So if it's on a private cold storage wallet, no one would know about it, have access to it, and they would either need the code that you have in your brain or your fingerprint or something to access it. And even then, they probably wouldn't be able to transfer it without all of the codes. So on a cold storage wallet, you have your pass keys and you have your seed phrases. And if you leave those somewhere for somebody to find, or you tell somebody in your will, this is how you access my stuff. If something happens to me, then that's fine. Then people will have access to it. But if you don't do that, and you don't give anybody access, and you memorize those codes and no one else knows them but you, and something happens to you, there ain't nobody getting any of that. Yeah. So, and Michael Saylor is the first one who said that he is not leaving his Bitcoin to anybody. If he dies, it stays with him. And why is that important? That's a good thing, because no one will be able to liquidate his vast Bitcoin quantity. And that would be a big dump on the market. Imagine if he left $10 billion worth of Bitcoin to his heirs and they just decided to sell it as soon as he died, and the market would tank. All right, guys. We've been on for a long time. I got to run. It's almost 3 hours now, and I got a call with my CPA coming up at 3:30. I got to get ready for. Speaking of accountants and taxes, the biggest pain in the ass of my life. Yeah, Lisa says the hardest part for people to face is planning for their death. It is difficult to talk about, but you got to do it, guys. You got to prepare for it. I mean, if you care about the mess that you might leave for other people, especially if you have anything, if you have assets and you have money and you have crypto and you want to make it easier for people that you love and care about, then you gotta write it down. You got to leave it somewhere, put it in a safe, or give somebody access to it if something were to happen to you, right? But if you don't want to do that, you don't have to. But at the same, you're just leaving a mess for other people to figure out. And if you don't want to burden your loved ones, then you probably do want to do that, and have at least have something written down, hidden somewhere where you have your logins and your passwords and all that stuff, so that somebody else can get at it. I mean, who cares at this point for you? You don't care anymore. But anyway, with that being said, guys, more thought-provoking stuff to talk about. I'm going to keep an eye on the charts today. If I see anything change right now, it does look like, just real quick, I'll share this real quick before I get off. On Bitcoin, we are still, let me go back over here. We are still in this upward trend. We have come down a little bit, but are we breaking this? It is possible. I don't know what happened to my bottom line here. I might have been on a different Bitcoin chart. Yeah, I don't think we're there yet. We got a little ways to go. And oh, what am I on? I'm on Bitcoin USDT. That's why. So not much has happened it did drop a little bit since I went long here. And it's probably just coming down to retest this upward trending support line. So I will wait to see if it breaks or holds. I have a feeling we're going to bounce here on this line, which is right here and along with this upward trending support. And it will look like this and come back up. But if that doesn't happen and we get below this line and come up and retest it as resistance, I will reverse this position. I will give a signal in the chat. I will also I would wait. If you didn't go long when I did here, I would wait till this bounce. So look for it to bounce at around 114.9, 114. Yeah, I would say 114.900. Boom. And then that would be a better entry. And then just put a tight stop loss underneath. But I will post that as a signal as soon as I see that happen. So as far as everything else, I'm waiting for XRP and Ethereum to break out of its little rut. Let's look at Ethereum real quick. Ethereum did break to the downside of a weird upward trending. Where is it coming down to? I don't know what it's doing here. It already came and broke previous resistance, previous resistance as support, broke through that. And so, man, Ethereum is dropping a little bit. So the next support on Ethereum is 43.82, somewhere in this range. I know this is very messy looking, but this blue range right here is the next little box. So, and it's probably going to be right about where this downward trending resistance line touches this. Boom. Right there, probably for the bounce. I would say on Ethereum, 43.85 for the bounce. And then XRP. XRP, downward trending, but not really far to go, I don't think, because it is in a overall bullish flag, falling wedge, apex pattern coming into. We have support here, and we have a downward trending resistance ceiling here. So I would look to see something like this before breaking out, hitting this line one more time, and then breaking out to the upside again on XRP. I mean, if we break below this upward trending support line, and then we get down in the $2.50 range, I would just say buy more. But I'll give a signal at that point when I see that happening. All right, guys. That being said, have a great rest of your day. I will be posting in the main chat and in the Discord. Make sure you get on. If it's just too late, possibly to get on the onboarding call with Bill. But if you have any questions, just ask in the main chat. If you're new, just get into the school and go through those videos. And other than that, I will see you on the next call. Have a great weekend. And if you have any questions for me, just DM me or ask it in the main.